If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
G'day world, this is the Sniper of the Skies, Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to Keeping It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ASA podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll preview Sakura Genesis and cover all its news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice, and leave a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts and newsletter over at socialsuplex.com. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live right now on patreon.com/KI Strong Style. If you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Young boy, how you doing, man?
Guess who's back? Back again. Jeremy's back.
Tell a
so
friend.
We can record the podcast. Man, you don't know the joy that filled my heart when I woke up this morning and realized I don't have to record the show. I don't have to download it. I don't have to upload it to anybody. I don't have to coordinate and host and send out links and send out questions. Like it's been fucking incredible. But we are so glad to have you back from your hiatus, Jeremy. I don't know if there's anything you want to, I saw the gimmick that you created for yourself. You shared it in the Discord. Did you share it anywhere else? Tell the people what you did here. Let them know.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be funny because the post, there's a lot of, returns graphics in wrestling. Most famously in AEW, there's the Kenny Omega returns, because, he always gets beat down and comes back. And then in WWE, there's the famous, Roman Reigns return, because he always takes, long breaks and then comes back. So it'll be pretty funny to, quickly just, AI graphic, throw it together real quick and just create a funny graphic. I really didn't blast it out there because I know people feel some type of way about AI generated graphics and all that, but it was just for a quick funny joke. I wasn't gonna hit up a real artist to create this joke that I was trying to do. So I posted it in the Discord and within our friend groups. But yeah, I'm back.
You don't have to defend yourself here. This is a safe space.
Shout out to you, man, for holding it down for 3 weeks, and shout out to Emily and Brian and MJ. I listened to all the episodes, and it was really great stuff. Emily was freaking popping me from her episode last week, and I really enjoyed Brian. The first time he was on the show, sad I couldn't be on there with him, but I thought he did an excellent job, and he brought some different insights and had a little bit different takes than you, which I thought was interesting. And MJ's
and last but not least, Matt, you were there. You're fine.
You're fine, MJ. Little 3-star podcaster. No, MJ, as usual, awesome. Also, you're one of the guys that are always on the show when we need somebody to come in and fill a spot here. So really appreciate MJ or everything you did. And yeah, Josh, you killed it. Got everything out with the rundowns, the guests, getting the audio up, working with Rich to get the audio up. So yeah,
I'm tired, boss.
Was this when a tag wrestler, their partner gets injured, and it's like, all right, you get in for a singles run. It's like, I don't want a singles run.
Yeah, they start having them tag with random ass people it's like when Road Dogg had a bunch of different, he had X-Pac,
K-Quick,
and he had K-Quick. I'm sure he had some, even the Rockabilly thing at the beginning of New Age Outlaws was them getting thrown together after Jeff Jarrett. So that's basically who I was.
Yeah. Shout out to Rambones here saying congratulations to me and the family for increasing the size of the faction.
Yeah, I feel bad. I haven't been out to see my dog yet. Are you concealing the shoot name?
No, I mean, people follow me online. They've seen the name. His name is Jones Lewis Donovan.
Listen, people, a man with 3 last names as his full name, that's a fucking hard ass dude. You have to be so tough to pull off that name. And I know I said this on the show before, but as soon as I heard his name was Jones Lewis, I told Rich, because me and Rich always talk about old school boxing, and I was like, bro, this is a 1960s, 1970s heavyweight, contender. This dude, fought Ron Lyle, Ken Norton, Jerry Quarry, top contender, went the distance with Frazier,
Yeah. So yeah, lots of props on the names. Yeah. So my son, me, and my wife were all 3 JLD in the house, and yeah. And yeah, shout out to Rich. He was here in Florida for a little bit, and he swung by, saw little Jones. So yeah, it's been an interesting 3 weeks.
Rambone's Slam Pig says JLD is a hard name. Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's been an interesting, couple of weeks here. Not necessarily fitting a baby into my life, but fitting my life around the baby. And so yeah, but it's been a great journey, and yeah, it's been fun so far.
I think the timing of your return, where essentially you're just coming back to review a Road to show in the middle of nowhere, it's not coincidental. I
mean, my plan was I took off the whole New Japan Cup tour, and
exactly.
You
took off during all the heavy lifting, and then you're kind of dipping your toe back in the water with Road.
Yeah. And we did have a funny question here from Make Way for Slide. It says, if Josh is a young boy, is Jeremy now the New Japan dad? And I guess so.
I mean, that's up to you. My gimmick was given to myself by me. So, Jeremy, I don't know how you feel about gifting yourself your own gimmick. I mean,
well, this is coming from Make Way for Slide would be officially gifting me the gimmick, but I mean, I guess
no, he didn't appoint you with it. He asked if it were, but you have to decide whether you will take up the mantle or not.
You people have to decide. Oh man. So yeah, I saw you put on the rundown here for my New Japan Cup thoughts. So I'll kind of quickly, I guess, do that, and then we can jump into Wrestler of the Month, Match of the Month, and then we'll jump into the Road to and preview Sakura Genesis.
Yeah, I'm not trying to stay here too long. It's a one show review show, so I mean, don't take your liberty here. Keep it brief. But no, I'm just playing. We did want to, I figured you watched the whole shit, off the show. So
yeah, the first 2 weeks after my son was born, I was off of work. So, I mean, I was just, hanging around the house, feeding, changing, holding the baby. And a lot of times baby wakes up in the middle of the morning, right when a show's about to start. So, I was talking to Samsa offline about this, but yeah, once you have a kid, you start watching New Japan live more often. So I've been able to watch some stuff live, and yeah, kept up with the whole tour. So overall, I thought it ended up being a good tour. It started out really rough, which I feel like New Japan Cup has been doing lately, because you just get these weird buys and you get these weird first round, second round matches. So I feel like the first couple rounds were a little bit of some work to get through, but then it started cooking once we got into the quarters, especially the semifinals, and the finals was great. So yeah, that closing stretch of the tournament was really good. I really loved Bolton and Yuya. Just some really great grappling. It just kind of felt like this traditional style matchup, and that I really loved that match. Zach and Oiwa was really, really great. I think I know a lot of people are super high on that match. I think I would have been a little bit more high if I didn't get spoiled. That was one thing I got spoiled on going into it. So I was almost a little deflated that Zach won, because I kind of wanted Oiwa to finally pull the win on him and advance a little bit. And we see a lot of young guys that advancing in this tournament. But again, that was a great match. And then you get into the semis, and Umino and I'm blanking, who did Umino face in the finals or semifinals?
Callum.
Yeah, that's right. Umino and Callum. That's right. Yeah, that match rocked. And yeah, you guys talked about that combo where Callum power bombs him just straight over the rope to the table was freaking sick. So that's really good stuff there. Then obviously the finals with Callum and Yuya. I thought that was traditional big match, New Japan style main event. And for all these people that love House of Torture and want to know the difference between their cheating and other heels cheating, look at what Callum did in this whole tournament and in this main event. It was very subtle, very sleight of hand. Zane J doing stuff like sliding the chair in, quickly getting the ref's attention for a brief moment. You're not having the ref go down for minutes on end. You don't have 30 people running out there. So I thought Callum did a lot of the stuff that we talk about very well. He had some Jay White isms. He's rolling out the ring. He's powdering. He's, finding the right ways to kind of get the sleight of hand the ref to kind of do something underhanded. He has Zane J on the outside. And so it's very subtle. There's not 30 people out there. There's no garrotes. There's no wrenches, any of that stuff. So I thought Callum really blossomed in this tournament and absolutely killed it. I mean, that kind of transitions into Wrestler of the Month, Callum Newman.
Well, actually, before you did that, you brought up a good point that I wanted to piggyback off of. So it's been pretty clear for a long while here that the House of Torture is essentially like the premier top heel faction in the company. I don't have the bandwidth right now. It's been a long day to go back through the history and talk about which groups have usurped which groups as the de facto top heel group. But I'm sure through the past decade, between Suzuki-gun, LIJ, Chaos, and Bullet Club, there's been times where you could kind of track which group is overtaking who in terms of being the big bad of the company. And I think what we're starting to see right now is literally United Empire transitioning into that top spot with, Callum's win and with the way they're being presented, and House of Torture is probably being relegated. That doesn't mean that there's not an importance to what they fulfill, and they'll still be like a heel group, but it's becoming pretty clear that United Empire is on a trajectory to replace them, which that might be the answer to getting rid of House of Torturism, is just kind of relegate them so it's less prevalent throughout the show.
Yeah, which I'm all in favor for. And a question or a statement here from Immortality 777, Mrs. Start, but welcome back and congratulations, Jeremy. As the world's #1 English-speaking Kojima fan, how many Kojima matches have you showed your son so far? Pretty much everything that was on this tour.
So a few.
Yes, he's got a few.
Did you teach him the curse words?
Ijauza Bakaero.
One other thing I didn't talk about this last week, but I thought was interesting. So, the attendance reported was 3,007 last year, and that's actually down slightly. It's nothing crazy, but it's down 8% from the 2025 number, about 264 less. They did a 3271. And then when you actually track between 2026 and 2022, this was the third highest attended Sakura or New Japan Cup finals, and the average between those 5 shows is like 3130. So I think doing 3,003, that's just a little bit less than the average, and it's the third highest in 5 years, which is a pretty healthy number.
Yeah, especially when you have two guys that are, quote unquote unproven. Obviously Callum, he's had that one world title main event, but he really hasn't been in the main event scene. Yuya really hasn't had a ton of main events. So to have two guys that have not really been in that main event scene draw that kind of number, I think it's good for right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. But I think what you were about to say is you wanted to transition us to the wrestler and match of the month.
Yeah, so I was putting over Callum in my recap there. So, yeah, Callum Newman, make way for the Prince, kiss the crown. He is our March wrestler of the month. And I think also the resume speaks for itself in winning the tournament. Great final against Yuya. Great semifinal against Shota Umino. Really fun matches with Hiroki Goto, Hartley Jackson, and Oscar. So I thought Callum, not only did he have great character development, he had great matches, and is on the path to becoming, the next top foreigner in the company.
Rambone Slam Pig said, show that baby the video of Kojima doing an elbow drop on Punk's dick. Greatest high spot of all time. No, I totally concur. And obviously, we're going to talk a bit more about Callum here. I think where we're going to run into some serious issues here, you and I are very torn. So we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. And this isn't, I actually pulling the, I don't know what the word is, but like
curtain.
Basically pulling the curtain back a little bit. Me and Jeremy have been doing some work on the back end to kind of catch up with some of our records and data keeping and things that we're going to roll out here in the very near future. But one of those things is going back and compiling the full list of recommended and match of the months, wrestler of the months. And we already had a pretty complete list, but we stopped in like 2022 actually compiling them. So I'm almost done. But the one thing that, as I'm going back and listening, it's like month after month, it's like, well, we usually talk about this, but we didn't look. So what do you think it is? This is not that. We talked about it, and me and Jeremy were like literally very torn. So, I mean, this is going to open up a discussion, but there was literally like 8 matches that occurred this month that we thought could literally be deserving. So you've got Oleg Boltin versus ELP during the first round of the Cup. Umino versus ZSJ during the quarterfinals, Sweet Boys versus Unbound Company, the junior tag team title match, Yuya versus Oleg in the semis, Oiwa versus Saber in the second round, Callum versus Umino in the semifinals, and then Callum versus Yuya in the Cup finals. And actually, the order that I just read that was from lowest to highest as rated by Cage Match, but I think both of you and I think your response was anywhere from 1 to 4 was kind of what you were feeling could be deserving.
Yeah. So those 4 matches, the finals, Umino and Callum, Boltin and Yuya, I went all 4.5 on all those matches, and Zach Oil. I went 4.5 on all 4 of those matches.
So I put out a poll on our Discord channel, just asking and obviously that's anecdotal, but we know that the people in our Discord are watching. They're sickos, just like us. And I think that poll's about to close here, just like in 5 minutes, basically. But 11 of the voters, which is 50%, voted Oiwa versus ZSJ as their number 1. Second place would be Oleg versus Yuya, which surprised me a little bit. And Yuya Callum is third. Callum Shota has the least with 2 votes. I personally, and see, here's where I'm a little bit torn. I personally liked Umino Callum more than Yuya Callum, and probably more than Yuya Oleg, but I think I'm the low man on that one. But Oiwa Saber was my favorite match of the entirety of that run. I also think Umino Zach probably is somewhere in there too. Mm-hmm. But then you got Callum Yuya being like the most acclaimed, and it has the prestige of the cup.
5.25.
Right. And that deflation, I'm like, I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it, but I thought that was a ridiculous rating, to be honest with you. So, I mean, I don't know. What were your personal opinions? Like, what did you like the most out of them?
Yeah, this is where it's hard, because like I like those 4 matches I mentioned all for different reasons. And I felt all 4 of those matches, for me, there was like something small missing to get each one of those, for me personally, in that 4.75 5-star range. But I could, like I said, I can be convinced either way. Like at first, I was kind of just leaning with Callum and Yuya, since it is the finals. It's got the highest rating from Dave and Cage match, and people seem to really love that match. But then again, you look at the semifinals, and Shota and Callum, a lot of people really like that match, and I felt like there was some really big match elements to that, but I felt like that match started kind of slow. Boltin and Yuya, like I mentioned earlier, some really great grappling, and it just seemed like a really great professional wrestling match. And I think for that, maybe if it had some more maybe closing sequences that were a little bit more dynamic, maybe that would have gotten above that 4.5 for me. And then Zach and Oiwa was a technical masterpiece. And again, I got one in Spoiled, and again, the finishing sequence, maybe that could have been a little bit more dynamic to get it over that edge for me. So, I mean,
what was the finishing sequence? Like, I just remember the vibes.
I'm blanking now, but I felt like when I watched it, like there could have maybe been a little bit more like back and forth towards the end there. But
Rainbow says I voted for Shota versus Callum, as if you couldn't guess. So I guess what it's coming down to is like, I like Oiwa Saber. Seems like our Discord does too, but that's just a small sample size. Callum Yuya obviously has like the prestige of the tournament going for it. And also like the crowning achievement, Callum finally getting the elevation and being the youngest winner of the cup. But then at the same time, I feel like you've mentioned you like Yuya Oleg the most, which for me, I think I got that at the bottom of the 4. So we're a little split here. We got to make a executive decision.
Yeah, I say since right now the Discord base and you are all leaning towards Oiwa and Zach, I say let's do it. Let's power to the people. The March match of the month, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Roy Oiwa.
It's settled. So congratulations. I can't wait for Emily to get the graphics out there tomorrow.
All right, well, let's jump into the road to Sakura Genesis. So we had night 1 of the tour this past Saturday, March 28th. Japanese only commentary. There'll be English in post. So show opened up. We had
attendance.
Yes, 795 reported attendance.
You got to say it because I put it in there, and that took me time and effort.
The show opened up. We had Masatori Yasuda defeating Tetsuya Matsumoto. So just kind of your young lion match here. Yasuda getting the win with a Boston Crab.
Yeah, they went 744. Yasuda was 2-0 going into the match. So, now he goes up 3-0, which makes sense. He's, the senior to Matsumoto. But, and you know what? I've been a little harsh on Yasuda recently. I do feel like I'm seeing steady improvement from him, which is good. But I'm still favoring Matsumoto. I feel like
that's what I was thinking from my talking point here, is that I feel like Matsumoto's lapping him, and he has the presence. He has some more charisma. Also, the physique. Like, he's jacked. Like, I feel like he's just winning in a lot of different categories right now.
Winning.
So then following that, we had Contra's Kushida defeating Taisei Nakahara in 7 minutes 31 seconds. So Kushida coming back to the tour here, back to New Japan, bringing his MLW middleweight title and some other title that he has, the Filipino Pro Wrestling Championship. So he gets to win via cross armbreaker.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to have to see Robbie about that one, or maybe TJP. I believe that title was held by Jeff Cobb. It does not show up in Cage Match, but I went to the backstage comments and I paused the video so I could read the fine print. I'm like, what the fuck is that title? I'm like, oh, Filipino heavyweight champion or world champion or whatever. It's just the Filipino Pro Wrestling Championship. But Nakahara as this new, and we haven't even gotten really to hear your thoughts on him, but this is the first match he's ever had with a veteran in the company. And I did think it was interesting. Kushida basically is presenting face in Japan, so the whole Contra thing is not which is really a factor.
I guess fine, but it's like MLW works with New Japan. Like, they're doing a big Fantastica, Mania, CMLL, New Japan, MLW thing, and Taiji Shimori is going over that show, and also Kushida's going to be on the show. So like, there is some New Japan crossover. So it is a little weird that he just turned heel. He's joining the Contra unit, the long-standing heel unit in that promotion, and now he just kind of shows back up with their title. Hey, I'm happy old Kushida, still checking the time, like everything's good.
I think they don't actually work together. I think that MLW just kind of like asks for permission. Like, can I say that we're working together? And they're just like, I don't know. I fucking guess so. Like, whatever.
Yeah. It's like, can we use like, one or two of your guys and put the logo up there
and say that there's a partnership in place,
or maybe draw some tickets.
Yeah. So I don't know, but, this is a situation, Young Lion taking on a coach from the LA Academy. And I actually thought Nakahara looked really good here. This was mostly grappling based, where he couldn't really get the better of Kushida. And Kushida's obviously like a wizard on the mat, but I thought Nakahara kept up with him in terms of pace and styling. And there was one point where a lot of the match was built around Nakahara trying to get a headlock, and Kushida kept reversing it, and eventually Nakahara worked his way up to where he sunk the headlock in, and that was like the moral victory. Like, fuck yeah, I got this.
Yeah, that pissed off Kushida.
But Kushida got him with the cross arm breaker and looked pretty dominant, and I'm sure they haven't announced it. We're going to talk about it, but I'm sure he's probably going to be in Super Juniors, and so this is a little tune-up match, and I thought it was a good learning experience. What are your, your thoughts, since we've just now kind of got to look at Nakahara? Or had he debuted before you left? I can't remember.
He debuted before I left. I think it was a Young Lion. He had like 2 Young Lion matches, I think.
My bad.
So I saw a little bit of him, but this was the first time I'll say against a veteran guy that we're seeing him here. And so, I thought he looked good. I thought as far as, the grappling, I think that's really the core of the Young Lion stuff. And he looked really good doing that with Kushida. So I thought he looked good. There was one spot where he kind of messed up the drop kick and had to redo it, but again, he's green, he's learning. But besides that, I thought he looked real good.
Yeah, I didn't think it was the cleanest drop kick I've ever seen, but it looked fine. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like a proto Suzuki.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, you know what, I can totally empathize with, because I was never able to throw a good drop kick. And for whatever reason with my hips, I couldn't do an enziguri, which is supposed to be one of the easiest things in the world. But yeah. One question I mentioned to Emily, but I hadn't talked to you about it. Nakahara is throwing strikes from a southpaw position. And Chris Charlton's talked about this in the past, but like, I cannot think of anybody other than luchadors or lucharezu guys that do that. Like anybody from the dojo. Have you noticed that? Or
honestly, I didn't even catch it until I listened back to you and Emily, and you asked her and you brought that up. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe he was doing that. I didn't even catch it.
I don't know if it's something they're going to correct, or if I don't know what the deal is, but I think it is interesting. I'm pretty curious as to like, who else out there has ever worked from a southpaw position in terms of striking, but I don't know how you're even going to find that sort of, it's not like a searchable thing, you know?
Right. Yeah. You have to go back and just start watching Young Lion footage.
Or I'm not even talking about Young Lions necessarily, although I'd be curious about that, but I just mean even in Pro-Rezu as a whole, like who are some of the like top workers that have ever been, or notable workers, even just a mid-card guy that does that? I can't think of anybody. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Now, one last thing here. Do you think Kushida is trying to win all these belts to get better positioning in the tournament?
I think that he's been watching Money AEW and saw Mercedes Moné go on her belt collector gimmick. He's like, I could do that. But backstage, there were some comments here from Nakahara I thought were very interesting. He basically said that he entered the dojo on the same day as Daiki Nagai, and that he was in the dojo as peers in the same generation as Murashima and Shomakato, who obviously like they left for excursion either just as he was coming in or even before. And he was expressing frustration, basically saying that he's never been on the radar of any of those guys, because they obviously all debuted way ahead of him. And like Daiki Nagai's in the main event. Obviously, he's the pin eater for his group, but he's in the main event on this card. And this guy's like, yeah, I'm not on the radar of any of those guys, even though they're my rivals and my peers. And he's like, and I loathe my generation. And like is expressing hate for the guys that came before him. And it's interesting because it's like, I don't know how much we're ever going to see him really we probably won't see him lock up with like Shomakato and Murashima until like he's about to go on excursion, and maybe when they come back. Yeah. And him and Daiki Nagai is going to be very limited, and Daiki's just going to, eat his grits. Like he's going to fuck him up.
Yeah. But it can definitely lay the groundwork for some story elements in the future. Eventually when he comes back from excursion, those guys are all back. You can kind of build a story kind of similar to what we've seen with like Yuto Ice and Oiwa. So moving on to the next match, we had Yuya Uemura, Taichi, and El Desperado defeating Togi Makabe, Tomiko Hanma, and Tiger Mask in 10 minutes and 48 seconds. Yuya getting the win with the Lion's Shiner on Hanma. That's his crossbody / frog splash maneuver.
So is that official? Like, that was my question. Is this something that is only the Lion Shiner when it's to a grounded or a standing opponent, or is it both?
I believe it's both.
Okay, and they were calling it the High Cross before, so basically they've just changed the name.
Yeah, so I started noticing it on NJPW1972.com where they have the match result. They'll say what move it was, and so yeah, they've been calling that the Lion Shiner. Okay,
yeah, I mean, this was the first like match post New Japan Cup loss for Yuya. As you probably listened on last week's show, we had a lot of questions about what's the future for Uemura. I think that still kind of remains to be seen. Any thoughts on Suzuki-gun sort of reuniting here lately?
Yeah, it's been weird. We really haven't seen Taichi and Despi team together, even though they've kind of been in Hantai. Now all of a sudden they've kind of been in a lot of tags together. So that's been a little interesting wrinkle there to have them back together. Also a little just X number of guys reunion with Yuya and Taichi as well.
I didn't even think of that.
So a little, just Suzuki guys.
Just three guys.
mixed up there. And then, your great Bash heel reunion, Tiger Mask, he's on his retirement tour, going to be out of here in a few months. So yeah, fine matchup here. I think the goal here is get Yuya a win after eating a loss in the finals and kind of pick some momentum back up for him.
Yeah, very much a Hantai versus Hantai, and it's current generation versus the dad. So you knew exactly what was going to happen here. I did take the liberty to count down the amount of times that Hanma would go for the Kokeshi and land it, and the Makabe bump counter. So Makabe took 2 solid bumps in this 10 minute 48 second match. And Hanma, believe it or not, hit both Kokeshi attempts that he was going for. There was no missed Kokeshis this night. So he was on fire, but not enough to put away the the good guys. So
yeah, that's funny. My wife was like, why does he just keep throwing his body to the ground? I'm like, he's trying to headbutt them. Oh, man. So following that, we had Aaron Wolf, Yo, Toru Yano, and Master Wato defeating the House of Torture team, Don Fale, DOUKI, Sho, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, with Yano getting the schoolboy victory over Kanemaru. And this was building up. We got the Sakura Genesis, the Junior Genesis, coming up this week, where DOUKI will be defending the junior title against Yo. So that was a preview for that matchup.
Yeah, Kanemaru was going for the Centauri surprise as the ref got quasi-bump distracted. And Yano took the liberty to hit that low blow. The whiskey goes spraying, and then he rolls him up. And even though this was Japanese-only audio, I assume what they were speaking in Japanese was that their monitor went out and they were not able to see what took place before the pin. So I can only speculate, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
I'm pretty sure that's 100% what they said.
There was also a pre-match promo from Yo on House of Torture. And you know what was funny? It's like I watched the backstage promos and I don't recall them jumping, doing the translated video for that promo. Like they still did the post-match translation for like the main event between, Tsuji and Newman, but they didn't even feel like Sho's pre-match promo was like as an angle was worth translating for any, or even like displaying. So I don't know what he said, but House of Torture, they jumped everybody. Yo's kind of taken this like bitch role with DOUKI where he's kind of become like his mouthpiece and just like his hype man, which is like, dog, you used to be somebody. You were special. We thought you were going to be like the ace. And like, what the fuck happened to you, dude?
Yeah.
You need to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Figure out who you are.
Yeah, and also in the build of this match, Yo's been doing, the evil thing, been hitting the everything is evil, been doing the evil pose. I don't think there was any of that in this particular matchup, but it has been something that's been happening towards the build, and I'm wondering when we get to the singles match, or if we're going to see some more of that there.
I think we will. Wolf and Fale. So we haven't heard your thoughts like on the Wolf loss. Obviously, you've had a little more time to digest what took place there. I think during the preview show, we speculated heavily that this could be what happened. But since then, he did do one Young Lion tag team match against KOB during the tour, which was interesting. But other than that, he's literally been completely in nothing but House of Torture matches since January. What are your thoughts on the Fale loss and the way they've used him so far? And where are you in terms of like, how do you see things going? How are you feeling about the Aaron Wolf thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like what's going on with him has been some booking malpractice. I hated the Fale thing. For whatever reason, like they just don't want to have this guy in non-House of Torture matches and have him, push him and spotlight him. And like, they brought him in as this big, star. He won his first match at Wrestle Kingdom, beat a pretty established guy. And then it's been like, it kind of feels like, why did we do that? And now they're backtracking. And I don't know. If I'm them, like, this is a guy that got them the Wrestle Kingdom TV deal. He's got them the Dominion TV deal. People, they lose their mind when he comes out. Like, they're very invested and intrigued by him. I think, personally, just watching him, he has enough ability to where he can work a match and you can protect him without the smoke and mirrors. I feel like he has enough. You put him in there with some never guys. You put him in there with like Shingo and Goto and guys like that, I feel like he's very physical. I feel like he'll stay in the paint. He'll hit hard. I think he has enough grappling ability from what I'm seeing. He has the throws. Like, I feel like he knows enough to where he could work some other style of matches and work some other people. He doesn't need to be hidden behind the antics. And so for them, I guess I don't know what their game plan is to get him over to that next level by having him constantly lose, look like a geek. Like, this is the thing where it's like now he just kind of feels like a regular guy on the roster. Like, when he came in, he didn't feel that. He felt like, wow, this guy is special. He's different. Like, he ripped the gi off. Like, we were going crazy. We thought it was Wolf time. And then now they've backtracked. He's losing. He looks like a geek. And now it's like he's reverted down the card, essentially kind of back down to like what a young lion would be, which I get it. He's still green and I guess technically is a young lion. But then what was the point of giving him the rocket strap push at the Dome if we're just going to treat him like a geek young lion?
Yeah, Rambo Slam Pig says here, Wolf is a classic Gato bag fumble. Took him 5 years to push any of the Reiwa guys. Check in on Wolf by 2031. I got to say, I don't disagree with what you're saying, Jeremy. I think I've had a little bit of time to process where I'm at with things. And I clearly, I share a lot of the same criticisms you do. Where I'm at with it personally is let's see what happens coming out of Dominion, because I think it's pretty clear they're going to go to TV. They're positioning him for a match with Red Narita. I don't even know if a title will or won't be on the line by that point. But then following that is G1,
Mm-hmm.
And if they put him in the G1, then he's out of the House of Torture realm, at least for now. And we can finally get an assessment on, but in an 8-month time frame, where has this guy gotten to? Now, if they still feel compelled to do all the bullshit, or they keep him out of the if they keep him out of the G1, I swear to God,
that's a big red flag right there.
So that's where I'm at. Like, I'm holding off to see, like, okay, will this whole thing at Dominion pay off? And then are we going to the G1 and, kind of assess from there? One last thing I will say is, I think he's getting better. I mean, it's very limited in what they're asking him to do, but in terms of like him having to think before, executing and all that, like, he's not really doing that. He's becoming very fluid. He knows how to, I think the biggest thing is he knows how to connect with the crowd and show fire.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing.
I think that's their biggest key right there, is the fact that he is super over and now he's actually connecting with that overness. I think that's the one thing I think that's going to carry them through to Dominion, where I'm assuming he's probably going to beat Narita and get the title back. So people will be into that, and that's kind of like the one crutch they can lean on. But yeah, I think I would still like to see him push a little bit harder.
Well, we'll see, because it sounds like to me, possibly around May, Oleg Boltin might have something to say about that. But we've got a preview for that match. But before we jump to that, there was an interesting backstage comment here. And as you could tell, I watched the backstage comments. I can't do it all the time, but when there's just one show for the week. And Taichi was backstage and criticizing about people returning to the company, thinking they can jump in and jump out anytime they want. And then talked about the company rolling out the red carpet for these people that have absconded from the company or treat it like a part-time gig. And, they don't reward or treat those people who are on these Road 2 shows working in front of sub-1,000 crowds, And I'm sure some of that, it sounds like it might be directed at potentially this Will Ospreay thing, but could also be guys like Konosuke Takeshita and other, perceived outsiders that kind of split time, or even if the War Dogs come back, if we find out that they're going to be working both companies, which there's been, speculation. But I thought it was interesting. Taichi was kind of going hard in the paint, fuck the company, fuck these dudes. We're the ones here. You know, he's on that CM Punk, Colt Cabana shit right there.
Oh, man. So following that, we had Boltin Oleg, Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, and Shota Umino defeating the House of Torture team of Ren Narita, Yujiro Takahashi, Chase Owens, and Dick Togo. Umino getting the STF win on Dick Togo. Also, we had Konosuke Takeshita was on commentary for this match, and at the end of the finals, at the finals, Takeshita laid out the challenge to Umino, wanted to get a win back from the G1. So post-match, we did have Umino getting in Takeshita's face, and that match got made official.
Yeah, the central story of this match, aside from just what's going on with Umino and Takeshita, the House of Torture are wanting to challenge for the Never Six-Man tag team titles. So this was a preview for that. The titles that Oleg Boltin and Bishamon hold together. And kind of what spurred this on was Boltin beat Narita in the New Japan Cup in the quarterfinals. He eliminated him. And then later on, he made a challenge for the Never title. And keep in mind, Boltin is the strong champion. They're both openweight titleists. And Narita basically said, like, nah, give us a shot at the Never Six-Mans, and then maybe we'll talk. So there is speculation of, like, they're going to have the title match. It seems like that's coming down the pipeline, at Sakura Genesis. But is he even going to, like, it's probably just one of those classic heel things where they say they're not going to have the match and then it gets announced anyways. But, like, you do kind of wonder, like, with how sneaky Narita is, like, is he even going to, like, keep to his word and, like, give him that title match or not?
Yeah, and this is kind of jumping into predictions, but we probably could see Boltin pin him again, and then the Never committee is like, sorry, but you have to defend. You lost twice. Get out there, boy.
Well, I think it's wishful thinking, but I would really love for them to unify those two open weight titles. I just think the idea of an IWGP open weight title sounds so much cooler than having a Never open weight and a strong open weight title. You know what I mean? Like, roll the TV title into there too. I don't give a shit. But, like, I would love the idea for all New Japan titles to be IWGP branded and what's the word? Like, they oversee it or whatever.
The committee. Yeah.
Like, sanctioned. I want all the titles to be IWGP sanctioned. I would love it for, these two champions to unify. But how many times have we seen over the years where it's like, we want a unification? They have two champions fight, they win the belt, and then they defend them separately. And the one time they did unify was the one time we didn't want them to do it with the IC and the heavyweight.
Yeah. And I feel like, we've been talking about, both these titles unifying forever now. I feel like this is a rib. Like, somebody translated to Gato, and he was like, all right, I got something for them. Oh, man. So we'll see what happens there with that Never Six-Man title match. We'll do some more preview and predictions there. But then following that, we had the TMDK team of Ryo Oiwa, Zack Sabre Jr., and Hartley Jackson defeating the Unbound Company team of Yuto Ice, Oscar, and Gato. So Oiwa using his TM clutch on Gato to get the submission victory. And this was a preview for the upcoming tag team title match. Thank the Lord, it seemed like Fale and Chase earlier on in the tour were going to be the ones challenging, but we got Oiwa and Sabre challenging here. And they'll be challenging the Knockout Brothers at Sakura Genesis.
I'm still not completely sold that they're not going to do something with that, because I don't recall what it was, but Chase Owens was somewhere on one of these nights recently and was still kind of like, motioning towards KOB that he wanted, to challenge or something. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe that's still down the pipeline and it's just early planted seeds. We'll see.
Well, I thought they were going to build a 4-way because Hanare and Okan were also, like, beefing with Knockout Brothers on this tour as well.
Yeah, well, you heard Brian's prediction on the show, and that made my stomach sink, where I was like, oh, fuck. That's kind of what he was. This was before TMDK was back in the mix, and he was predicting a triple threat. And then, House of Torture are basically just there to take the pinfall loss, to probably drop him over to United Empire, whichever. It seems like now Jake Lee's not in the mix, but at the time it wasn't quite so sure. But it seems like for now the tag team is Okan and Hinare.
Yeah.
But all of those teams are not. I mean, it's good that we've got multiple teams in the mix all at the same time. But yeah. I mean, I'm glad that House Torture is kept away. When I was actually watching this match, because I watch on delay, I was, and plus it's a road to, I don't care too much about the results. I would go through NJPW1972.com's results and put down the winners and the times as we were going. And I saw the Oiwa one with the TM clutch. I'm like, what the fuck is a TM clutch? And you know what I thought it was? I thought it was that move where he wrenches on the arm backwards, like
Nigel London Bridge.
Yeah, where he sits on their back. And I thought maybe he elevated that to being able to beat people. But then it's this it's a backwards single leg Boston Crab.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
I like the other one better. That's, if I ever go back to wrestling, I have a variation of that move that I feel like would fuck somebody up. It looks so killer. So
nice.
One last thing. There are in the post match. So one of the biggest things that's been building in this match is Yuto Ice. And it seems like this with every feud they have. Yuto Ice is a hothead and is getting into hate-filled feuds with one or two of the members of the opposite team. So it's him and Oiwa, and they've had issues in the past, especially stemming from the previous match between these two teams. But they're both talking about like philosophical differences and what they view wrestling actually is. It reminds me of Tanahashi and Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
But Oiwa basically talking about like, I'm not going to fight you. I'm a sportsman. I'm going to, this is the king of sports and I'm going to, beat you with my technical acumen. And then like Yuto Ice is like, bro, it's a sport. What the fuck do you think fighting is? I'm going to beat your ass, dude.
Yeah. Get that money, get that high. Oh man. Speaking of Yuto Ice, I'm sad to report that my wife thinks that he looks like a geek.
She wrong.
She doesn't get the gimmick. She's like, why does he keep doing that? Like nobody does that. Why does he keep sticking his tongue out? Why is he walking like she?
What you got to do is explain to her, be like, you don't get Japan. I've been to Japan. You've never been there. This is what everybody in Japan is like.
Yeah, she was out on Yuto Ice, didn't get him. She like rolled her eyes anytime he came on the screen, buried him, 10 feet under. It was a sad moment.
Well, here's the thing. She's not alone in that. I've heard a lot of other get out of here, Siggy. I've heard a lot of other like pundits say the same thing, that like they appreciate the work and the fact that he's making waves, but they're not fully bought in on the gimmick. And I'll tell you, I like the gimmick a lot and I like the persona. I don't know if the way the current incarnation of it, if that is a singles main eventer gimmick. I feel like it's going to need to be adjusted to some degree to make it a little bit more marketable and palatable when the time comes when they do elevate him.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, for right now, I enjoy the gimmick, everything about him, the promos, his wrestling. I think he's just hitting on all cylinders right now.
So I'm basically on a I can fix him kick, and you're on the I love you as just the way you are.
I accept him the way he is.
I accept you for who you
are. So then following that main event, we had Unbound Company, Yota Tsuji, Shingo Takagi, Taiji Shimori, Robbie X, and Daiki Nagai defeating the United Empire team of Callum Newman, Jake Lee, Francesco Akira, Jacob Austin Young, and Zane J in 1358. So a lot of different previews here. Also previewing Tsuji defending the title against Callum Newman, the New Japan Cup winner. We had Robbie X and Ishimori. They're going to be taking on Jacob Austin Young and Francesco Akira for the tag team title. So a little bit of a preview for that as well.
Yeah, this was, in my opinion, the best match of the night. I mean, sub 15 minutes, very easy watch, but there's a lot of stories being built here. And if there was anything I'd say, go out of your way to watch, this is probably the match. The first kind of, Tsuji beat Zane J with the Gene Blaster, but Zane J was the first guy that came out, and me and me and Brian kind of touched base on this a few weeks ago, where it's like every night he's coming out and complaining about young lionism.
Don't play that whack music.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, not that I'm anyone to speak on this, but because I've been guilty of it myself, but the way he speaks, the appropriation, he's like, I ain't no young lion. I'm like, calm down, bro. Speak proper. But on this night, he came out, they played the music, he told him to cut the music, and then he says, I've developed my own theme music. And I think it was on tape. I don't know
what it was. CD. It's like Zane's.
It was a CD.
Yeah, like Zane's music or something like that.
And he put it on the timekeeper's table. He's like, you play this the next time. And I'm like, I don't know that dude is in charge of the music backstage. But all right. But it was funny. He's like, I got new music, but we didn't hear it.
Yeah.
He just, but it's a little something. So that was interesting.
I've been enjoying, giving him a little something, and it kind of reminded me of like the Owen Hart, I am not a nugget. I am not a young lion. And then there was a part in the tour where like Gato was doing commentary. And he's like, oh, you young liar. You, what's wrong with you? Why you mad? You young liar. Freaking pop me.
And then, so Robbie X, this feud that's going on with him, Ishimori, they're the junior champions, but he's been out of action because since the time they won the belts, he got attacked in that post-match.
Got Pillmanized.
He got Pillmanized by the United Empire tag team of who is it? I'm blanking right now.
Jacob Austin Young and Akira.
Yeah, I'm just tired from it's been a long day. But yeah, JY and Akira, they put him out of action, which I'm sure part of that in reality is just the fact that like he wasn't scheduled to be on the tour. But I think it's a nice way to get him off the tour because they Pillmanized him. He's on the injured list. Now he's back and he's out for revenge. So they've added a little bit of juice to this match here. Mm-hmm. And I really liked the interactions between these two junior tag teams. And we've been singing the praises. I guess we're going to talk about it in the preview show, but I'm really looking forward to that. And, in the post match, Robbie X was beating the shit out of Akira down on the ground and getting his comeuppance. And then, you still had Ishimori and JAY, like, having to be broken up and everything. So kind of a lot of good heat between those two junior teams. We don't always see heated rivalry. It seems like since like Connors and Maloney were like the top players, it's been a while since we've seen like heat with the juniors. Yeah.
And then transitioning to Tsuji and Newman, something interesting that I thought about, Tsuji winning this preview match here, it felt like, with the Jake Lee feud, pretty much like 9 out of 10 times he was losing on the losing end of Jake Lee's team going into that match. And this is the first preview match going into the Newman match, and he's coming out on top.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. But at the same time, I feel like Callum Newman just had 4 back-to-back victories. It's good for Tsuji to kind of like get a Gene Blast and get a guy like Zane J out of here. So I don't read too much into it, but I did take note of that. One thing, I don't know if you saw this, but we forgot to talk about it last week, but there was this really heated involvement between Tsuji and Fujita during the last New Japan Cup night.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not going to lead to anything right now, but I'm like, it's interesting. They're like planting some seeds for Fujita. Like, he's a guy I don't ever see making the jump to heavyweight, but I felt the need to do something there.
Yeah, Emily was talking about it last week where she was saying, I guess there were some comments from Fujita, like, kind of trying to take it to Tsuji to show that juniors can be on the big stage, since, juniors have been relegated to their own little corkin. So, yeah, I wonder if this is kind of set up to maybe he's going to win Super Juniors again and win the belt, and he's going to lead the juniors back onto the main cards kind of thing, maybe.
Maybe, and I would like to see that, but it's very interesting. I think it's something worth taking note of. Now, post-match, we had Tsuji and Newman face off. Tsuji handed Newman his New Japan Cup trophy and like kind of like big leagued him and like made him stand where he wants, so he could like, he's like, let's do it proper. You come stand over here. Let me cut my promo on you. And Newman didn't take too kindly to this. Like, backstage, he was like, don't ever touch my trophy again. If you get one time, and that's basically it. But Tsuji's post-match promo, even though he's got the aura, he's got the presence, the stuff he said wasn't really too interesting to me. He basically said like, hey, you've been cheating the whole, New Japan Cup. You got Zane J, and, you've been using a chair. I'm curious as to what you have ready for me when it comes to Sakura Genesis, which is it's interesting, but it's not something that like got me super hyped for the match.
Yeah. So yeah, I wonder how much more heat they'll get to build up with these last few Road 2s going into Sakura Genesis.
Last thing with this evening, there were 4 submission victories back to back to back, which is interesting. Like we don't usually see that many people getting tapped out. And then every single now there was like 7 matches on the evening, but right now there's a lot of like tweener and babyface factions. So you're not getting all babyface heel matches, but the 3 matches where there were heel stables, they all lost. So I also thought that was interesting going into this kind of being one of the last previews before these big shows where it's like all the baby faces are coming up on top. Is that because we're about to see the heels like eat them up in in April?
Yeah. We did have a question here from MJ. He says, is Jake Lee's makeup helping the gimmick?
Oh, absolutely not. Like at first, bro, when he first started doing it and it was like just a little bit of eyeshadow, I didn't think it looked good, but I just thought it was like, whatever, bro. He's going to add a little color to his thing, whatever. But it's growing and it's getting outlandish. And now he's got clown makeup on it. And what's his nickname these days?
The Silent Jester.
Oh, God. Yeah, because before he was the Smart Bastard, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I still think of him as the Smart Bastard, but he's the Silent Jester, but he's not silent. I guess he is a jester, but a jester isn't necessarily a clown, but he's wearing clown shit. I don't know what the fuck to make of it. It looks to me like a guy that's quiet quitting. Like he's already he's already like, he already knows what his lot in life is. And he's pretty much like, all right, well, fuck this shit,
Yeah. Which is, it seems like night and day to kind of how he came in. Cause like he was like the big mystery guy at the Dome that kind of centered things around him. It seemed like he was going to be the figurehead and the new leader of this group. And then things went off the rail going into the Tsuji match. And obviously now Newman's taking off. So, yeah, to me, I feel like I thought he fit the group at first, but like now, like all those guys are like killers, and he's just like this goofy guy with the monkey and the makeup. Like, what's going on here?
I don't know, and I don't really care too much, honestly.
Yeah,
I wish I did. I wish I like could say more, but I'm just like, I don't know, bro. You had a good month. We believed in you. You shit the bed, and now I don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm really lost here.
Well, let's move on to preview Junior Genesis, night 4 of the Road to Sakura Genesis tour happening at Korakuen Hall this coming Thursday, April 2nd. And Josh, you noted here, it's going to be the 5th major post-Tanahashi retirement show to feature the young Reiwa stars.
I actually moved that note to Sakura Genesis because it's my bad. I just moved it.
All right. Well, never mind that then. So first match on this show, we have Kushida and Masatori Yasuda taking on Shota Umino and Tiger Mask.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2 months out to Tiger Mask 4's retirement. And one of the last kind of lingering things that's been going on and they haven't really been putting too much focus on his like wind down here, but a simmering story in the back page or in the background has been Yasuda trying his hardest to vie for the respect of Tiger Mask. And as anyone knows, this is a grumpy dude who loves to kick the shit out of the young lions because it's the last, element of joy that he has in his life at this point because he's about to retire. But I do wonder if as things wind down that Yasuda is going to succeed in getting his respect. And, there is always that aspect where Yasuda is half Mexican and they probably are looking for a new Tiger Mask. Maybe he could fill that void. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. It'll be interesting to see if they go that route, but I think just a story of him, trying to get Tiger Mask respect is good, whether or not he does get the mask. So that's a little kind of closing story for Tiger Mask, and a good story for Yasuda. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out, and also Shota Umino will be trying to pick up momentum going into the TV title match.
Yep.
Then following that, speaking of the TV title, we have the champion Konosuke Takeshita, who'll be taking on young lion Tatsuya Matsumoto from the Goto Revolutionary Army.
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially just a singles tune-up match for Takeshita. It's non-title, obviously. But this is one of those rare examples of a young lion taking on a top star. We do see singles matches with the young lions, but it's typically against mid-carders, lower card guys. And every once in a while, not that this doesn't happen, but every once in a while, it's few and far between, they'll get put in there with a top guy. And then later on, when their career has come to fruition and they're active and everything like that, it's always fun to look back on. Oh, did you know that Konosuke Takeshita fought Matsumoto when he was a young lion and beat him in 5 minutes or whatever? I know there's a pretty fun similar match where it's Okada versus Kanemoto, when Okada was a young lion and Kanemoto kicks the shit out of him. So, I think this is very much in that ilk. And I think it's the first time Matsumoto's ever had this kind of opportunity.
Yeah. So it should be a fun match to see how he does up against Takeshita. Then following that, we have Yuya Uemura, Taichi, and El Desperado taking on Togi Makabe, Tomoyo Hanma, and Master Wato. So very similar to the Hantai match that happened on night one.
Yeah, again, it's Hantai versus Hantai, current guys versus dads, except for this time they got Wato with them, which is pretty fitting.
Yeah.
That was a joke in the fact that he's past his peak into dad status. There was a couple, I was going to say episodes ago, a couple shows ago on the road, Taichi had a post-match comment talking about he would love to team up with El Desperado and Tomohiro Ishii and go after the Never Six Mans as a trio. Obviously, Ishii's on the shelf right now, but I thought that was interesting. But arguably, they got Yuya Uemura in their corner this time, and that's just in terms of durability and ability to for longevity. Yuya might be the better partner at this point in a 6-man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know much is going to come out here, but I do think it's interesting. They keep having Taichi and Desperado team up, and maybe there are some plans for like a 6-man down the road.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too. Also, there has been a pattern in the past where the runner-up of the New Japan Cup gets the next title shot. They don't always follow that pattern, but you just been picking up some wins now on these multi-mans. Are they setting him up to be the next challenger, walk out in a challenge to winner Tsuji Newman?
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions to you, is where do you see them going with Yuya? I can't quite remember what he's doing on Sakura Genesis. I guess we'll talk about it here shortly. But I'm interested to see where
he's in the Ospreay match.
He's in the what? Oh, he's in the 6-man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see where you're predicting things to go from there. So, we'll talk about that. But yeah, the juniors here, Despy and Wato, I think part of the reason they're on opposite sides, they're gearing up for Super Junior. So
yeah. So then following that, we got Bishamon, Aaron Wolf, Bolton Oleg, Toru Yano taking on the House of Torture, Chase Owens, Don Fale, Ren Narita, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Yujiro Takahashi. So the continuing and never-ending Aaron Wolf hot slop feud continues. Also got the preview for the Never Six-Man title match with the Bishamon and Bolton team will be defending against House of Torture.
Yeah, when we did the review, we already kind of litigated the build, the setup, where this is going. So I don't really have much more to say at this point.
So that takes the next match. We got TMDK, Big Jack, Hartley Jackson, Roy Oiwa, and Zack Sabre Jr. taking on the Unbound Company, Gato, and the Knockout Brothers. So this is a preview for the tag team title match.
Yeah, we're about to review that match. Very much looking forward to it, and it's at the semi-main event. But I think anytime you got Hartley Jackson and Gedo on the opposite ends of the spectrum, it's a pretty safe bet that Gedo is doing a JOB. But you never know. Like Oscar recently sleeper holded this man Hartley Jackson, put him to sleep. So
yeah. Then following that, we got United Empire's Callum Newman, Jake Lee, and Zane Jay will take on Unbound Company's DOUKI and Nagai, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji. So also we got the preview for the title match with Tsuji and Newman. There's also been this kind of background story with Shingo Takagi and Jake Lee. Obviously back on the New Beginning tour, Jake Lee took Shingo out with the giant killer knee and put him on the shelf for a while, and so they haven't really fully resolved that issue. So who knows, that might build that to something down the line, but there's definitely been some heat there.
I would like the idea of it to be one of those things that's just like, we don't have anything in creative for you guys right now, so just figure it out. So they're just like, every time they're backstage, they're like, I fucking hate you. Watch out. I'm coming for you. But it never leads to an actual match because I don't need to see a Shingo Lee match necessarily, unless they're going to use it as a launching pad to push Shingo into some other type of program. Maybe I'd be fine with that.
Unless it's a G1 qualifier and Shingo wins, keeps that bum out the G1.
But this, to me, this screams, remember when like Hanma would be feuding with Naito on the undercards because Naito just didn't have anything else going on at the time, and it never led to anything for real.
Yeah.
That's what this reminds me of, where it's just like, yeah, it's just some shit in the background, but it's not anything that, who knows. One other thing that I thought was interesting here. So, Zane J, we've talked about his Young Lion thing. It's going to be opposite DOUKI Nagai in this match. And they still kind of had that unresolved issue from like the fact they were in the Young Lions Cup together. It was a very anticipated match. And that's the same match where Zane J turned and cheated and got eliminated from the tournament because of his attack with the chair on DOUKI Nagai. And, that still has kind of never really been resolved. I'm sure it's not going to be a focal point, but it is kind of an interesting thing to think about that's taking place.
Yeah, that should be an interesting storyline as well. And I wonder if they will eventually do some kind of another singles match with those two guys down the line.
That's going to take us into the meat and potatoes here.
Yep, so semi-main event, we got the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles on the line. Unbound Company team of Robbie X and the Bone Soldier Taiji Ishimori will take on and defend their titles against the United Empire team of Francesco Akira and Jacob Austin Young.
We had a question or a comment from Rambone that we didn't read. He says, Jake Lee should be the leader of House of Torture. He sucks, just like the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, everybody thinks he fits that group, and I agree. Yeah, put him in there, and just have them all go away. But junior tag team title action here. First defense for Ishimori and Robbie X, and like we talked about earlier, Robbie X got Pillmanized on the tour, coming back for revenge, and something that I like that Charlton pointed out about the Akira JAY team is this is a very similar setup to Catch 2-2, where you had the veteran TJP teaming with the younger Francesco Akira and kind of being the captain, so to speak, of that team and leading the younger Akira. And now you have Akira in the TJP spot. He's the more experienced, established guy and leading a younger, less experienced Jacob Austin Young.
There's a similarity there. I mean, my retort to that would be, sure, for I don't know what the word is that I'm trying to think of, but basically for purposes of the story, Akira is like his senior, and Akira has, this is not to diminish or demean Akira whatsoever. I think he's fantastic, but he has worked outside companies, but he's still a young guy. But TJP wasn't like a young guy.
Right. TJP was a super established veteran guy. Yeah.
He's been wrestling since he was like 16 years old, and he's in his 30s. So he's, to me, I'm like, I get it. Francesco Akira's the more senior guy, and he's taking this guy under his wing. But I'm like, it's not like Francesco Akira is like a 20-year veteran of the game sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there is similar elements there. it does remain to be. I'm a big fan of what I've seen from Jacob Austin Young lately, JAY, but we haven't seen him thrust into this sort of opportunity and situation to really showcase what he can do. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can rise to the occasion, because these are kind of big shoes for them to fill. Like, United Empire has been in shambles for a long time and only recently started to kind of recoup and recollect themselves. But for the past few years, the one shining spot, the one crown jewel that they had was Catch 2-2, one of the best tag teams in the world. They're going to be compared to Catch 2-2, and I'm just wondering, like, are they going to be able to be on the same footing or not in terms of just output and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a tough task to live up to. You know, TJP and Akira, where they were super team, really great tag team. Looked been one of the best tag teams in the world. I think one of the most underrated tag teams. I don't think people truly appreciated them or realized just how great that team was. So yeah, that's a big boot to fill in. And I don't know if Jacob Austin Young is, from what I've seen, I mean, he's definitely gotten better, but I don't know if I would put him in the camp of being a TJP. But he's in there with some great guys, and so I think all the elements are there to have a great tag team match.
Yeah, and maybe that's unfair of me to point out the comparison point, because it is like, yeah, they're coming from the same faction, but maybe we should just judge it on its own merit and let it be its own thing, because it is a tough task to be like, that's a lot of pressure. Be like, hey, you're going to need to be as good as TJP and Francesco Akira, you know, who had all these years to like build up their chemistry with one another and everything like that. So I'm sure it's going to be good. I've liked the work that I've seen from these two guys all tour. Jacob Austin Young has literally put away like 95% of the pin eater opponents in the multi-man matches all tour. Like, he's been killing guys. So I think I actually can't ever tell what guys' finishers are in those situations, because sometimes they'll put people away with their secondary and then also use their top one. And I don't know if Bite the Dust is his finish or if it's the other one. I don't know. But
yeah, I think the Bite the Dust is like his main impact.
His main finish?
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what's funny is, like, I remember the name, but I actually don't remember. I think it's a DDT of some sort.
Yeah, I think it's like a hammerlock DDT, I think. Something like
that. But I've loved the story that we laid out, the fact of how they laid out Robbie X, and Ishimori's kind of just been on his own in Japan. They didn't really focus too much on these two teams through the early iterations of the Cup, because, you know, both team or all of the guys involved were seconding the guys in their groups. So they were kind of supporting them in preview tags. But as we started coming down the stretch, we started to get more of Ishimori against these guys. And he actually got pinned in one of the, or did he get submitted?
Yeah, the ground tarantula.
Yeah, he got submitted by Francesco Akira in the ground tarantula, which I was a little shocked by. And I'm like, damn. I don't know if that's them picking up momentum to really solidify, like, yeah, we're about to beat these guys, because it is just their first title defense.
Yeah.
Or if it's one of those things where you make the guys look strong before they lose.
Well, honestly, I think part of it is like a kind of a back burner Akira push that's been happening all year long. Like, Akira, he pinned Hiromu in that one tag team match. I think he had already pinned Ishimori in a tag team match too earlier. So
he did, yeah.
Yeah, so Akira's been kind of picking up these big wins against these junior guys. So it could be, yeah, maybe they're making him look strong for this tag title match, or it's like, are they getting Akira ready for Super Juniors? And like, is he going to the finals or possibly even winning?
I also think there could be elements of both those things. I don't think that they necessarily are mutually exclusive. You know what I mean?
Right,
so,
yeah.
But Robbie X and Taiji Ishimori since last year's, and actually, did they team for 2 years in a row in the Junior Tag League?
Well, X and Ishimori?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, for two tournament tours plus a few junior tag team title matches over the past couple of years, they've really proven themselves to be on the same standard of level as the other great junior tag teams of the past few years that we have like really put on this pedestal, Sweep, and the Sweep Boys are still around, but War Dogs, Sweep Boys, Jet Setters, Catch 2-2. I think Robbie X and Ishimori are right there in the same grouping with them. We've seen the work that they've done with Sweet Boys, and it's always been phenomenal. And now they're getting an opportunity to move on to this other team. Jacob Austin Young has a lot to prove here. Francesco Akira is getting better and better. And I'm a little torn because it's like, you would think Robbie X and Ishimori would retain. It's just their first title defense, but
yeah,
it's the junior tag team titles, and they can hot potato that shit.
Yeah, they flip, and United Empire's hot right now, and I feel like, they've been giving the heavy push to the faction and this Akira and Jacob Austin Young. You mentioned JAY getting so many victories, Akira tapping out Ishimori, and then Robbie X is still coming in with injured neck. Like, there's a lot in the favor of United Empire.
And that is going to be clearly a focal point. How recovered, quote unquote, is he from the neck injury? But even if he is mostly recovered and, they don't turn it into a body part match or whatever, the rage that he is showing, the anger that he has, and the desire for his comeuppance against these guys could also be an element here that maybe could lead mistakes from the Unbound Company team, where it's like, and what's funny is I want to call them War Dogs because I'm like, they don't, but the Unbound
Company. It is
Company
funny that sometimes Ishimori will still every once in a while wear some like War Dog stuff.
Yeah, bro. Like, and also I noticed the Bullet Club guys, when they're getting introduced for Unbound Company, they're still getting the gunshots, like the,
yeah.
And I'm like, why? But these are two guys that in their most recent victory, they had an incredible game plan and were able to isolate and negate what Ichiban Sweet Boys bring to the table, and were able to eliminate the aspect of both those guys being in the ring at the same time to break up pinfalls. And that was like intentional game planning. But now Robbie X is angry, and Taiji Ishimori's pride is hurt because he got tapped out. Are they going to come in with clear heads where they can like put it together? I honestly think I'm going with United Empire, not only because I think that they have gotten under their skin with the mind games, but I think because they might be, I kind of think Callum might be winning, or at least even if he's not, you might want to create the impression that United Empire is on the rise. Because let's say he does lose, it's probably still beneficial for the group as a whole for them to get these titles, because then it's still, whether he wins or loses, they still have those titles. But it creates this pressure thing where it's like, we're ascending, we've got titles now. And then if he does win, it's like even more gold on top of gold. So
yeah,
I think United Empire is winning here, bro.
Yeah, I'm going right there with you. Yeah, I'm going to go with Akira and JAY getting the win. And for all the reasons that we mentioned, you see these belts can hot potato, first defense, so much is in United Empire's favor. So yeah, I think that UE, the tides are turning, and United Empire is back on the upswing. And I think there's a lot of interesting stuff happening with the faction, obviously with Newman and Ospreay coming back. So yeah, I think these guys get the win.
And it's funny, that wasn't even my thought before we started the show. I don't think that I thought that they were winning, but the more we talked through it and I started looking at it, I'm like, who knows? I'm wrong a lot of the time, and I feel like that's where we're going.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free pocket pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
So then main event will be for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Title. as the champion DOUKI will defend against YOH.
Yeah, we had a question here. Ginger and Fringer says, first off, congratulations, Jeremy. And the heart emoji. You know what's funny is like this emoji for the heart is not how Gen Z kids do the heart. Do you know how they do it?
How they do it?
They do it like this.
That's weird.
I know. And what's weird to me is not only they do it that way, but even the emoji shows the right way to do it. How about this? Have you ever seen how when you ask a Gen Z kid how to okay, Jeremy, show me the sign, like the sign language that you would show somebody if you were saying like I'm on the phone or give me a call. Okay. Do you want to know how Gen Z kids do it? Or maybe, and you know what, maybe I'm generalizing here. It might not even be Gen Z. It might be young, like Gen Alpha. They go like this. Bro, because their phones have never flipped. There's no reason for this because they don't flip. They hold their phones like this. So they literally, this is the stupidest shit.
That's weird, bro.
Anyways, his question is, with how bad DOUKI's reign has been, am I crazy in saying that I wouldn't mind YOH winning the title? He's still a good worker and is pretty over with the crowd, so I don't see why not. But also at this point, I'd pretty much prefer anyone else holding that belt.
Yeah, I don't think you're crazy at all. I mean, at this point, I'm so over this current iteration of DOUKI that, yeah, I would prefer YOH the Ho to be the champion, cosplay evil YOH as a champion over DOUKI. At least YOH, maybe he does not hit the heights that we hoped he would on a normal pattern, but every once in a while he has these great matches. He's still a solid wrestler, and I think anybody else but DOUKI right now would be interesting as champion.
So, I mean, going into this match, these guys have only wrestled twice. They have a 1-1 singles record against one another. DOUKI, by the time this match takes place, will be 179 days into his reign. But this is only going to be his third title defense over those whole entire 179 days. So, he elected not to. In his first reign, dude was super active in title defenses. That's when he was the junior of the year and he was a babyface. But this guy elected to skip the dome. He elected to skip January 5th with defending the title. And he's only had 2 defenses. So he's been super inactive. And then on the other end, you got YOH and you called him a hoe. Well, I don't know if you've thought about this. I didn't know this until I looked up the stats, but YOH has failed in 6 matches to capture the junior heavyweight title. That's a lot of times for anybody to go, bro.
That's Gotoism.
Yeah, that's like Gotoism, but this is the junior title. Nobody goes for the junior title that many times and fails. So
right, anybody can win the junior title.
The last time YOH fought for this belt was about 2 years ago when he got injured in that 2-minute match against SHO, when SHO was also terrorizing the entire division in one of the shittiest title reigns of all time. So this is sort of like a little bit of a deja vu and sort of maybe an opportunity for him to avenge himself here. But I don't know how I feel about this match. I think that the only thing I'm really looking forward to at all is the evilism that YOH is going to bring out to the match, because I don't really have high hopes for the match itself.
Yeah, I think the match is going to probably stink, and it's really hard to predict a winner just because also we're right around the corner from Super Junior, and also the champion is going to be a focal point of that tour and going to be a guy that's put in main events and going to be count on the draw, especially if a guy like Hiromu not on the tour this year. So who do you go with for DOUKI or YOH? I don't think either guy are necessarily a super big draw that it matters. If you flip it to YOH, I don't think that's going to hurt the tour. If DOUKI remains champion, I don't think that's going to hurt the tour.
Rambone says DOUKI relegated to House of Torture because he's physically broken, I assume. And there may be something to that.
Yeah, and maybe that's the reason why there has been some little defenses from him as well. Maybe there's just, he's not 100%. He's cleared, but not, able to do what he used to be able to do, where he was, trying not to go back to Mexico. So maybe there is something to that. So yeah, I think either guy could go in as champion. It doesn't hurt the tour. Obviously, you know, Despy's probably going to be in a ton of main events on the tour. So, I mean, for my purposes, for my entertainment, I want Yo to become champion here.
I feel like because Yo started off this feud with, you know, basically doing evilism, you know, and I'm sure someone else can explain the lore of all the stuff that he did, right? But he started it off alluding to evilism, and that's been like the focal point of the entirety of their build. That screams to me that he's going to lose. I think we are going to see some level of cosplay when it comes to evil, and I think we're going to see him using evilism to even the odds against DOUKI in Korakuen Hall. But DOUKI's going to have all his tricks. Yo is a dumb babyface. He's never been known as a guy who overcomes the odds and outsmarts everybody around him. And I think that his playing around too much, the mind games, is going to be his undoing. And, you know, DOUKI and the rest of House Torture, they're going to eventually catch him down the stretch when the ref isn't looking. And DOUKI's going to suplex De La Luna him in 1, 2, 3, and he's going to go on. The last thing I will say is I agree with you. Like, you do want a guy who is the champion to be able to draw, but like what they've done in the past is when they didn't have a super big draw, they put him like at second or third from the top most evenings, unless that champion was facing one of the top guys in the division. And it's pretty clear that they got Desperado and Fujita geared up as like the top 2 juniors in the division. Mm-hmm. So I figure that those 2 guys will probably be doing a lot of the heavy lifting on the tour, similar to how Hiromu and Desperado were doing the heavy lifting when Sho went into Super Juniors as champion.
Yeah.
And we didn't think Sho could possibly go into the tour as champion because of the same reason. And then they're like, oh, it's fine. You'll just be semi. You'll work 15 minutes.
Yeah. And the scenario laid out is probably what the actual finish is going to be of the match. So yeah, DOUKI is probably retaining. I do want to see Yo have like some, like, you know, Yano come out with like Dick Togo and have like pretty much mirror the House of Torture playbook. Like I think that would actually be funny for this match.
I'm not anticipating a work rate classic, but I do feel like the antics that might be on display will be entertaining. So that's really all I have to look forward to. If the match ends up being good on top of it, and if Yo can elicit some of the fire out of DOUKI, then that's a cherry on top.
Yeah.
One last thing. Let me ask you again, over and over and over again, the juniors not on these big shows and being relegated to Korakuen Hall, you know, preview shows for Road 2s. Like, I don't know. I know we've talked about it so many times, and at this point, I don't think anybody even really knows why this is happening. Like, we could all just speculate, but like, do you like this, or do you feel like it's shitty? I don't know.
Yeah, I think right now, I think Emily hit the nail on the head last week. Like, it just kind of feels like it's regulatory now. Like, doing it every once in a while, I think it's fine. And honestly, I think they should probably be doing it every once in a while for almost all the titles. And like, you do want something special for the Korakuens. You do want to give incentive for people to watch Road 2 shows. And so I think it would be cool every once in a while. Hey, do a KOB tag title match, do a Never title match, do a TV title match, you know, mix it up. But to have it consistently be the juniors, and then not only are they getting their own show, but they're not even being featured on the big cards, it makes the junior title feel less than.
I like the idea you had there, because I think when they first did this, the first time I remember it was when Clark Connors was wrestling Desperado, and we're like, oh, that's pretty fucking cool. And then it just kept happening over and over and over again. And so, like you said, it feels like they've been regulated, or, you know, whatever that's called in soccer. And I like the idea that they could do this every once in a while, but that they would have other Road 2, like, you know, go home shows that would have the TV title or the Never title, or, the 6-man or whatever. It doesn't matter which title is, but having something like that. So it's not always the juniors. So I agree.
It feels like a 205 Live ism where these guys are supposed to be part of the main roster, but then they have their own little show. It happens after, Raw and SmackDown's taped, and they just cut, those are the cruiserweights, keep them over there. And I remember one time Rich and I went to a SmackDown taping, and it was over, and I can't remember if it was before or after, but the 205 Live guys are coming out, and the fans are like, who are these C League wrestlers coming out right now?
Yeah, and it was like Tommaso Ciampa,
and it was Johnny Gargano. It was TJP and Cedric Alexander.
It was Grand Metalik.
Yeah,
Kota Ibushi. We had a comment here again. Rambone says DOUKI needs to go back to Mexico to get that stem cell therapy Rey Mysterio got. Oh man. So yeah, that's the last road too, but that is going to take us to the big show, which is what, next Saturday?
Yes. So Sakura Genesis 2026 from Ryogoku Sumo Hall with a capacity of 11,098. It's going to be Saturday, April 4th. And this is going to be the 5th major post-Tanahashi retirement show to feature the young Reiwa stars at the top of the card. New Year's Dash, New Beginning in Osaka, New Beginning USA, and New Japan Cup Finals. Previous attendance, so last year we had 6,640, 2024, 6,632, 2023, 6,510, and then in 2022 was 4,755, which was COVID era, and 2021 also COVID with 4,484.
Yeah, so I mean, if we just went by the last 3 years, post COVID, the average there would be actually I did my math wrong. I got to do it again. The average between these three would be just under 6,600, 6,591. So you're kind of hoping that for the sake of Tsuji, because they did good business at New Beginning, right? Relatively speaking, you could say New Japan or New Beginning in USA was a relative success. Probably could have been better, but still they did a respectable number. But for Tsuji and Newman, this is a little different because they don't have the thing with New Beginning is, and sometimes we overlook this, is every year we have that buzz about everything that took place at Wrestle Kingdom and New Year Dash. And then New Beginning takes place in Osaka, and Osaka is one of their best markets. And there's all this hype coming out of the Tokyo Dome. So the overlooked talking point is that they almost always sell out Osaka, no matter what's on the docket. So it's we gave a lot of praise to Tsuji and Jake Lee for the fact they sold out the building. And I think it's deservedly so, but it's not like they didn't have momentous help going into it, because every year they do good business no matter what's at top. But going into this show, this is kind of where it separates the men from the boys and telling us who is a draw at the top of this company or not. And you want to see at least 6,600 minimum just to kind of be in the same capacity as some of these other shows. If there's a drop, it's not disastrous, but it will tell us hey, these guys are still building and all of that. If they exceed the number, that's going to also tell us something about how people are receiving these guys, or even if there's an Aaron Wolf bump that's taking place, something like that.
Yeah. So there will be a kickoff match happening on the pre-show. We'll have Kushida and Masatoru Yasuda will be taking on Taisi Nakahara and Tatsuya Matsumoto.
Yeah, typical Young Lions mixing it up with a legend. Kushida obviously is getting geared up for Super Juniors. And, this is kind of the first time Nakahara, not the first time, but, it's always good to see a fresh new Young Lion mix it up with his senior senpai. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, but I'm guessing Kushida will get the win here on probably Nakahara.
Yeah, and I wonder what's the most disrespectful way. He already put him in a cross arm breaker, so it's he didn't even have the decency to hoverboard lock the guy. So I'm wondering what is the next I hope he beats him with the lariat. Like some shit that he
or the punch that he does, like that wind up punch that he does.
Yeah. One thing that I think, one thing he did in the last match, which I don't recall the last time I've seen him do this. He did a standing moonsault, pretty clean one too.
Yeah, that was nice.
And I was like, flippy do Kushida these days. But I hope he hits him with a Irish whip to the ropes, and then as he's rebounding, he mid kicks him in the chest and then pins him.
Oh man,
I'm gonna beat him with something super disrespectful where you're just like, yeah.
So then the main card's gonna kick off. We're gonna have Tiger Mask and Togi Makabe taking on the TMDK team of Hartley Jackson and Kosei Fujita. So again, we're continuing the Tiger Mask retirement tour. We got Fujita getting ready for Best of Super Juniors. Hartley Jackson's kind of been making his campaign for the G1. So some small stories here.
Well, Togi Makabe is not anybody that's ever going to be in play for G1 ever again. But him and Hartley, both big guys. Obviously, Togi's seen better days. And I will be keeping the bump counter on lock. But it'll be fun to see him and Hartley Jackson kind of beefy boy it up with one another. And then this is probably the last time Tiger Mask ever wrestles in Sumo Hall for his entire career. So it is a quasi send-off in that regard. They didn't market it as the last appearance of Tiger Mask the way they do with Tanahashi, but it is.
Because it probably won't be the last of Tiger Mask because there will be another one.
With that all being said, I think Tiger Mask and Fujita are both gearing up for Super Juniors most likely. But Makabe doesn't usually do a lot. I mean, it's like Hartley would probably be the pin eater here. I could also see Tiger Mask or Togi taking the pinfall, but it's not as obvious as it normally is in this situation. Like, well, not that this is consequential at all, but who do you see losing here?
I mean, just on paper, I would probably go with Tiger Mask getting pinned.
Okay.
But again,
probably
but if he's going to be in the tournament and you want to maybe build some excitement around that, maybe you do have Hartley Jackson pin Makabe.
Yeah, I think Hartley Jackson might beat Makabe so that Tiger Mask and Fujita are both kind of like protected, kept strong going into whatever,
Yeah, unless you want to do something really wild and you have Tiger Mask pin Fujita and he's like, I'm about to run this tournament and y'all don't even know.
You remember that one year where he won his first 3 matches in a row? And it wasn't even that many years ago. Like, we were doing the show and we're like, what the fuck, bro? He's going on a run, dude. I'm like, can Togi Makabe take the Death Valley Driver from Hartley Jackson? Like,
he gonna have to.
Is that something he's up for?
Yeah.
I think the most momentous thing they could do is have Kosei Fujita pin Togi Makabe.
That ain't happening. Next match is going to be United Empire, Francesco Akira, Jake Lee, Jacob Austin Young against the Unbound Companies, Robbie X, Shingo Takagi, and Taiji Ishimori. So we see them do this a lot where there's a title match and then the next night it's like a 6th man of what happened from the title match. So we'll see the junior teams, and then again, Shingo and Jake Lee kind of continuing their issues as well.
Not only that's 100% true, but also Unbound Company and United Empire, they've been feuding since November of last year, and it's just kind of continued to escalate. And, it predates this title match between Callum Newman and Tsuji here. So this is also a continuation of that. It also, is probably going to provide a little bit of a moral victory to either faction, leading up to their respective leaders fighting for the world title later that night.
Yeah. Then following that, we got Aaron Wolf, Master Wato, Toru Yano, and Yo taking on Don Fale, Doki, Sho, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. So again, we're going to have some fallout from the junior title match of Yo and Doki on opposite sides, and you'll have those guys also getting ready for Super Juniors along with Wato, Sho, and Kanemaru.
One thing that I think is interesting here is you have quite a few different juniors involved in the match beyond just Yo and Doki, who will have faced off the previous evening. What I think is probably something to look out for here, because we still have Dontaku. I believe Dontaku takes place before Super Juniors, right?
Yes, I think so.
I'm pretty sure. It's usually like, it's at the beginning of May.
Yeah, it's usually like May 1st and 2nd.
So they're going to have to set up the road to Dontaku to have a Cork and Hall title match for the junior title. I think if Yo is the champion, then it's very possible that Sho or Kanemaru might make a play at the end of this match to be named the new title challenger. Likewise, if DOUKI is the champion, then possibly Wato. I know he already had a title match, but just the fact that he's there could potentially indicate one of these guys like challenging. But who knows? I mean, they might have already, whatever, at the end of 4-2, they could have somebody just coming out and naming themselves the challenge or challenger. But if that does not happen, then I think that this is a good spot to kind of keep your eyes out or open for like an angle alert, basically.
Yeah, and there are 2 nights of Dontaku, May 3rd and May 4th, before Super Juniors.
And when's the last road to in Cork and before that, where the juniors get relegated?
Let's see.
I'm just joking. It doesn't matter.
There is a Wrestling Red Zone that will be happening before Dontaku, so maybe it'll happen there.
But that's not in Cork and Hall. There are 2
Corkins on the April 19th and April 20th at the beginning of the Road to Wrestling Dontaku tour.
All right, well, that's where this shit's taking place. So, also, I mean, I wonder if a big show like this is a good spot. Of course, like we're talking about, you could focus on the junior titles. So, maybe you do some sort of surprise defeat of the champion here potentially. But I am wondering if like this would be a good place for Aaron Wolf to like kind of get a definitive win over Fale to just cap things off. I'm sure they're not going to move on from House of Torture, but it's a big show. It'd be nice to see him like look dominant and kind of get revenge.
Yeah. That'll look a geek.
Yeah.
So following that, we got Yuya Uemura, Taichi, and El Desperado taking on the United Empire team of Will Ospreay, Great Okan, and Hanare. So some of the original United Empire members coming together. The return of Will Ospreay to a New Japan Pro Wrestling ring. We saw
Is B. Priestley going to be there?
I don't know. I think
you said the original members.
We don't have Jeff Cobb. But yeah, Ospreay, we saw him in New Year's Dash. We were there live. Had the whole angle that went down with him and Newman, the whole group there, and him promising to come back once he was cleared. Well, he's cleared. Returned back to AEW, and now he's returning to New Japan like he said he would.
I'm genuinely, I'm not surprised he's returning, because I think we've been hearing rumors about that for a while. He's said it. They're clearly building to something down the line with him, but I was not anticipating him working a tag match on this show whatsoever. And I think that it changes things for sure. But, Yuya, Taichi, and El Desperado, they've been facing off against these Hantai dads in the buildup. And then suddenly they're standing across the ring from Will Ospreay, arguably maybe the best in-ring worker in the world. So that's pretty interesting there. And I know we got some questions about this.
Yeah, so we had a question from Boston Crab Rangoon, by the way, which is an awesome username. He says, do you see Okan getting potentially kicked out of the Empire along with Ospreay by Callum if that is the angle they decide to run?
I doubt it. Just because when you exile a singular individual from a faction, then they become an island unto themselves, no man's land. And that's very hard to do in New Japan. You kind of have to assimilate to another group. I don't see him as a Hantai guy. I mean, I'm sure you can make that work, but I don't see him as a Hantai guy. And I don't see the door quite wide open for him to go anywhere else. So, I mean, Will getting exiled is fine because he doesn't even go here.
Yeah.
But it's like if Will gets exiled and for some reason Great-O-Khan stays loyal to him and he's also exiled, then it's like, all right, well, when Will is off in Jacksonville doing his shit, like what the fuck is Great-O-Khan gonna do by himself,
Right, yeah. And this might be jumping the gun on predictions, but yeah, I think that the angle is going to be just Will getting jumped. Like, Will's going to think that like Hanare and O'Khan are cool with him, like they were at Dash. But then I feel like it's going to be them that are kind of going to give the bullet to Newman to kind of, take a shot.
I totally agree. I think the only other option, which is a little less likely, is you could exile multiple members. You split off members of United Empire, because then if they're coming as a packaged unit, then they can go to another group and kind of fit in a little better, or even start their own shit. But I find that highly unlikely, especially with United Empire having just sort of started the recovery process. I think, losing members. I mean, they already lost TJP, and no one knows where the fuck Templario is at this point. So, Lord Gritty and Gideon Gray, we haven't heard from him in years. So it's hard to know. I don't know if they can afford to lose a couple of the founders, but I don't see them getting exodused out of the group.
Yeah. And as far as this match, I think Ospreay has to win here, so I think the United Empire team is going to win.
Well, this is the first Ospreay match in over 2 years. The last one was that dog pound steel cage match where he promised he'd be back, and he hadn't been up until now. He had that neck surgery in September of last year. So far, he's really just, unless he's worked something since then, he worked a match in March against Blake Christian, just sub 8 minutes. I know people liked that match. And then him and Moxley are, scheduled for a April 12th pay-per-view match at Dynasty. Is it? Dynasty for the Continental title. So he's kind of got a lot going on over in AEW. But then there's also this kind of continued United Empire Essex Boys storyline going on. And we've seen some recent developments over the past week where, Ospreay was tweeting about the Wembley show that's coming up and talking about the Essex Boys run the world and blah, 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 blah. Or maybe I'm getting this wrong, but basically he was talking about the Wembley show. Callum was talking about Sakura Genesis, and they seem to be cordial, saying like, I've got your back if you've got mine. We're going to run the wrestling world together. And this is very much contradictory to the angle we saw on 1-5, some of the snarky remarks that we've seen from Callum. But Callum has started to kind of toe the line a little bit in some of his, presser comments where he mentioned that things have thawed a little bit. They've talked to one another. It's a little bit better, but he's also been like, but it is my empire and I am like, I'm the head shit.
Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted. But it seems like Ospreay really is. It is super surprising that this is how he's coming back. It is a Sumo Hall show, so that's a big deal. It probably helps with tickets. I'm sure it's building to something down the line with him and Callum, but I'm just very surprised it's a 6-man tag team match against, Uemura and those guys. And on the other end, this is Yuya's first real big match since losing the cup finals. And there's nothing here that screams to me Dantaku challenger.
Yeah. Unless they want to do something crazy and he pins Ospreay or pins one of the Hanare O'Khan, I definitely think Taichi is probably eating a hitting blade here. So yeah, I am looking forward to this. What I'm most looking forward to is just I know that Ospreay gets incredible ovations in America. I've been to some of them live, and I think he's got one of the best entrance music breaks to allow for the chanting of his name. And that became big. It started in Japan and then carried over to America. So it's a really cool part of his entrance, but to see the people that when he comes back and they get their first opportunity to do that again, they're going to put the American fans to shame for sure. It's going to be a pretty cool moment. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So after that, we got
So I guess we think United Empire's winning here again.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. I have a hard time seeing Ospreay not win this match.
Especially if you think Okan and Hanare are also trying to ramp up to make a case for the IWGP tag team titles. In fact, who knows? They could even, after this win, come out and try and position as the next challenger. So yeah, I think that probably makes the most sense, but it does kind of suck. Well, it's tough because it's like you got Yuya, you got Despy. Those guys are like, Despy's a big star, Yuya's on the come up. It does seem like Taichi is going to get his ass kicked.
That man's about to get that hidden blade, get that Stormbreaker. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what goes down there, and how Ospreay is used and how his story unfolds, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the main event. So following that, we'll have the never openweight 6-man tag team title match. Bishamon and Boltin Oleg. They'll be defending their titles against the House of Torture trio of Chase Owens, Ren Narita, and Yujiro Takahashi.
Yeah, we had a question here. Death Triangle 720 says, do you think that they're saving Boltin for Narita for Dantaku, potentially for both titles?
Yeah, I mean, it seems that way because honestly, when I saw Boltin, hold the belt up, I thought, oh, they're going to do it at Sakura Genesis. They're going to do a double title match, and they ended up doing the never 6-man match here instead. And so, yeah, there is the Wrestling Red Zone show. There are 2 nights of Dantaku, so there's 2 Korkins on the tour. So there's stuff where they need matches. So I could easily see this happening on one of the 2 nights of Dantaku.
I agree. It's probably a Dantaku match. It's probably not a double title match. It's probably just for the never belt. That way Narita wins. I don't think that he's picking up the strong belt because I don't see him going to America with that title. And let's say he wins both belts and then drops him to Aaron Wolf like I think he is in June. I don't see Aaron Wolf going to America, even though he speaks perfect fluent English and all that shit. Like, I just don't see those guys making the trek. So they're going to keep these 2 titles separate. Hantai, they're in the middle of a 76-day reign. This will be just their 2nd title defense, but even just by the presence of them having the titles, it's added a smidge bit of respectability back to the never titles. But they love getting the never titles back on the House of Torture. And we've talked about the positives and negatives in that in the past, where it's like, you don't want to see House of Torture have the belts, but then when they do, you don't have to worry about them clogging up other shit. It's just the never 6-mans. But you know that they're going to work road to main events that we're going to have to review and watch, all those those steel cage dog kennel matches or whatever. So I don't know. I think it's likely. I would love to see Hantai retain here, but I think there's a really good chance that House of Torture wins these belts.
I think Hantai is going to retain to kind of do the scenario I was mentioning earlier where Boltin wins again. Maybe he might not pin Narita, but I think that Boltin will get the win, and then that they're going to have to force Narita's hand to defend at Dantaku.
See, I guess what I was thinking is if they drop the belts, the idea of him getting the title shot wasn't predicated on, oh, if I challenge and you beat me, then you'll get a shot at my singles belt. It was just put the titles on the line. I think what you're saying probably could make a lot of sense, especially, because Narita probably is going to beat Oleg Boltin in May. So you probably do want him to retain here and make him look strong, but I don't know. I kind of feel like they need to build up Ren Narita and House of Torture because there's no fucking evil around and they're, kind of failing. I feel like they cheat. They win the titles. Oleg, I'm just thinking I'm putting my Gato hat on and I'm thinking the way that I know Gato likes to book, not what I think is most logical, but I know how Gato likes to book. And Oleg Boltin's going to be like, you may have beat me, or you guys may have won, but you didn't beat me. And you told me that if I put my belt on the line, you would let me challenge. So, are you a pussy or not? And then Narita's going to be like, I beat you. I have no reason to face you. Fuck off. And then they're going to feud. And in the midst of that feud, they're going to announce that he gets the title shot. So that's how I see it going. I think House of Torture is going to win here.
Gotcha.
Plus, it'll open Bishamon back up to potentially be in play for like, a Dominion like title challenge, or, they'll be back in the tag mix if needed.
Yeah. Well, that's going to take us to the NJPW World Television title match. The champion, the Alpha Konosuke Takeshita, will defend against the Roughneck Shota Umino. So Umino has the 1-0 record against Takeshita from the G1, which was the whole reason for this match. Takeshita wanted to right the wrongs from G1, so him laying the challenge out to Shota Umino.
Yeah, that was a main event from Yokohama Budokan. So that was, the fact it was positioned as a main event at that time was a pretty big deal. But obviously this is a much bigger stage, even though it's lower on the card. And at that time too, they were both 10-10. It was like one of the last block nights for the B block, and was one of the things where Umino beating Takeshita was a pretty big deal at the time. Takeshita's looking for revenge. I don't know that I thought that his calling out Shota Umino made the most sense in the world, but I guess if it's a point of pride and he wants to avenge his loss, perfectly fine. I'm also kind of wondering, I'm like, you never called out Yuya Uemura for beating your ass 2 years ago, but whatever. And on the other hand, Umino's trying to rebound from that New Japan Cup semifinal loss and getting eliminated. But one thing that Emily started talking last week about how this guy's never won anything. So I went into the records and I was like, all right, well, let's see how like damning that actually is. Dog, this guy has had 15 title matches in his career and he's never won. He's failed 15 times. And of those 15, 11 of those matches were for singles titles. And this isn't just in Japan. This is in England and in Japan. And it runs the gamut of like the lowest level titles up to the IWGP title. And this guy has never been able to get it done. And I got to tell you, Jeremy, I don't think he's taking this belt from Takeshita on this night either.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing him beat Takeshita in his second defense of this title. I think, like you guys talked about last week, it could potentially, if they want to protect Umino, you could go the 15-minute title and draw, which also has been overdone with the ELP reign. But I think Takeshita's just going to beat this guy.
So like I'm jumping way ahead, and I know some people have asked about this, but like I'm ready to. Rambone says Shota ran away, Ghetto's dog. What? I don't get that. Do you get it?
Was he saying he ran away with Gato's dog? Maybe.
I don't know. I was like, who did he run off? I don't know. Maybe he meant ran over. I don't know. But
yeah, ran over. He said, yeah.
Oh. So I think very, very early prediction. I still have the right to rescind this and change my mind later. But I think Shota Umino's winning the G1. And I think the story going into that G1 is the fact that he has never won a tournament and never won a title and has never put it all together. And finally he does to go to Wrestle Kingdom, right? So I think that is the story they're telling. But there is a part of me where it's like, okay, if he loses here, I guess they do have enough time to do the rebuilding story, especially since the G1 itself is a built-in story over 9 matches anyway, so it's probably fine. But there's a part of me that's a little hesitant. That's like, should you be beating the guy if you need to kind of get him back on that horse and get people believing in him? But yeah, they're probably gonna have him. I mean, they could do the time limit, but the amount of times they've done the time limit to protect people in booking just makes me believe the title just should not fucking exist, because they don't know how to utilize these rules to make guys or to make the title meaningful anymore. So at this point, it should go the way of KOPW probably. But in this situation, yeah, I think Takeshita should probably beat him pretty clean in a good, fast-paced match. And then the story coming out of it, Takeshita can go off and do whatever he does with that belt, in May or whenever he comes back, June. And maybe him and Umino will have another match in the G1, a return match, but this will be another step in the, I thought I had put it all together. I put the pink trunks back on. I started growing my hair out. I put some low lights in that shit. And I beefed up, I bulked up, but I still couldn't beat this dude. And I need to figure out another gear to get back to form.
Yeah, I think that's a great story. And I do think, Umino's look has definitely improved, and it is reminiscence back to when he first came back from Excursion. So I think the look is definitely been a big win for him. So I think there's a redemption arc and story there that you can tell. You still have the rest of April. You got May and Dontaku. You got June, like I mentioned, in G1 itself. So I think there's plenty of time to rehab him, but it does feel like he's just eating a lot of losses lately, and then him and Yuya failing so many times to beat KOB, it just feels like he just seems like a loser right now.
Well, I guess somewhat, but I mean, at the same time, we have to think he was pretty successful in the New Japan Cup. A lot of people thought he was the favorite, and then got beat by the eventual winner. So I don't hold too much about that against him, but him turning around and losing to Takeshita right after losing to Newman, it's like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Some pretty big losses. That's a big setback.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Takeshita retaining as well here. So
I am also really looking forward to this match. I liked the first match they had. I think they've got a better match in them. This, again, it's going to be hampered a little bit by the 15-minute time limit. I hope that they can put something very hard hitting and exciting together over that course of time. I'm sure they can, but execution is a different thing. But I'm looking forward to this match tentatively.
Yeah, I think it should be great. Well, that's going to take us to the semi-main event, IWGP Tag Team Titles. The Knockout Brothers, Oscar and Yuto Ice, will defend against the TMDK team of Rihei Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. So this is the big rematch from New Year's Dash. We were there live in the building for that excellent main event. So KOB 2-0 against TMDK.
Yeah, this is a match that I think a lot of people are looking forward to. A couple talking points. I mean, Knockout Brothers, this is one of several times in recent history where they're headlining a major show in the semifinal spot with the IWGP tag titles. Like, that's not something that generally usually happens. And it's kind of what we talked about at the beginning of this review, where it's like, this is the 5th time that they're focusing on the young guys at the top. Takeshita, Umino, KOB, Oiwa, so and then obviously the main event. So that's really exciting. But the other thing too is, since Knockout Brothers won these belts, like, okay, yeah, they won Tokyo Sports MVP for Tag Team of the Year, and that's a really prestigious thing, but it's also like you could catch a down year at the right time and maybe win something that isn't as, meaningful as if you are like Holy Demon Army or whatever, at their peak in 95 or whatever the fuck. But I think what really stands out about Knockout Brothers is the moment they won the titles, not only have they been pushed, but every team that they've wrestled has stepped their game up to the extent of their headlining shows or semi-headlining shows. The World Tag League was the best World Tag League we've ever reviewed in the history of the show, or if it was in the top echelon, which is really exciting. And this year alone, we've had probably the best collection of classic straight tag matches in New Japan in as far back as I can remember. And not even all of them involve KOB, although a good portion of them do. And that kind of tells me, like, all right, these guys are like, they're drawing, or they're perceived as draws. They're being pushed. They're making everybody step their game up. They reinvigorated Tag League. And this is the most critically acclaimed the division has been since we've been doing this show. And that's all just taken place since, like, August or September, like literally like since September of last year. We're not even a full year into this. So that's a really, really, really big deal. And this match with TMDK was probably one of the top 2 matches they've ever had already, the one from 1-5.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're running it back, and people are stoked about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be excellent. Also, we were there for the first match, and that match absolutely rocked. Tag team match of the year contender, even just a straight up match of the year contender right now in New Japan. And so, you get the same 4 guys. I think the magic will be there again, and should be a stellar matchup. But I think the big question here is, do Knockout Brothers retain, or will Oiwa finally capture a championship here with Zack and become new champions?
Well, the Knockout Brothers beat them on 1-5, but they also defeated them in block play during the 2025 World Tag League. So, like you said, they're 2-0, but TMDK went on and actually won that year's World Tag League. They were the champions. That's how they got the 1-5 title shot. So, if they do lose again to KOB, that's 0-3. That's them eating their lunch. And
well, we saw something very similar with KOB and Umino and Uemura. Like, KOB beat those guys like 3 straight.
There's a part of me that's wondering, like, are they aiming to push KOB to the point where they break the records of Bad Intentions? Which, if anybody who, this is going way far back, almost into the dark ages, but Carl Anderson and Giant Bernard, better known as Lord Tenzai, A-Train, Prince Albert. They have the longest single title reign of any tag team in New Japan history for the IWGP tag team titles. And during that reign, they had the most successful title defenses. And on top of that, little footnote, they also simultaneously held the GHC tag team titles and were defending both of them separately across promotions. So, like, it was the most dominant title reign they've ever had, and it went for way beyond a year. And I am wondering, I'm like, is there any chance that, like, we want to get rid of that record and, like, knock those white men out and get Yuto Ice up? Like, I do wonder, like, if there's enough juice to get it to go for that sort of length of time.
Maybe. I guess, what other teams are you going to throw out there? I guess you have War Dragons, got a win recently at New Beginning in Osaka. There's Okan Hanare beefing with them, unfortunately, Chase and Fale. So, I mean, yeah, there are teams you can throw them if you want to keep this thing going.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But in the meantime, there is a part of me that feels that Team DK could be getting positioned here to pick up a victory, I have mixed feelings on that. I'm looking forward to G1 for all of these guys and trying to plot out, like, what's most beneficial, what makes the most sense for them. Is it time for a guy like Zack to, has he had his runs, and is it better for him to kind of spend a little bit of time resetting in the tag division?
Yeah, it might be good, and especially to kind of main event alongside Oiwa, use his name value to kind of help build Oiwa up and have them do some tag main events. I think there's some benefit for sure to have, and we saw what Zack does in tag division before with him and Taichi with Dangerous Tekkers. So we know Zack could be an excellent tag wrestler, and it could be a great platform to elevate Oiwa without having him have to be singles right away. So you can kind of build that main event tag run and then break them off again. So yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits of TMDK winning.
With that being said, I'm so this is one I'm really torn on. I think either team could win. I think I'm going to go with Knockout Brothers retaining.
Bumbaclots.
Yeah. Big up, get high.
I think I'm going to go with Oiwa and Zack, just because I feel like they've been telling a story of, like, Oiwa inching and getting so close to, getting big moments and getting a big win and being, 1 inch away from it. So I think now the time, Yuto's been talking a lot of smack, and you need somebody to kind of shut him up. So I think this could be the great opportunity to have Oiwa, get some comeuppance and pin Yuto Ice.
Well, it won't take much for you to get me to jump over that line and join you, because I'm like 51 to 49%, maybe even less than that. I don't know who's winning this match. I could see it going either way. Both teams are phenomenal. And yeah, I'm really looking. I think that this match, there's a good chance, Jeremy, a really good chance, especially since it's the semi, like, this is the kind of match where if it was like number 4 on the card, you'd be like, damn, really great match. Could be a low key dark horse show stealer, but it's not going to get enough time and all that. But on this card, looking from top to bottom, it's like, damn, that really could be the show stealer and be the one that takes match of the night honors. And I don't know how Tsuji and Newman are going to be feeling, but if that match is as good as we think it is, they're going to have a tough act to follow, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, this definitely could steal a show. I'm really looking forward to this match. And that's going to take us to the main event for the IWGP Heavyweight Title. The champion, Gene Blast, Yota Tsuji, will take on the Prince, Callum Newman. So obviously Newman coming in as the youngest New Japan Cup winner, and looking to break Nakamura's record of becoming the youngest IWGP champion. And also, I think the big thing really looming around this main event is the return of Will Ospreay. A lot of people speculating, does Ospreay's return play in to the finish of this match? Does it play into the storyline of Newman? And I definitely think there is going to be some fallout, whether Newman wins or not, in the Essex Boys story between those guys.
I didn't expect it to happen this soon, and it does change the way I think about the main event here, just a tad bit, because I think a lot of people, they clearly telegraphed it on 1-5 that there's a story coming down the line with these guys. But my timetable was closer to like it starting in June and maybe playing out at Wrestle Kingdom. And now this kind of speeds the clock up a little bit to where I'm like, all right, well, now there's a lot more to think about in terms of like the ramifications of what all 3 of these guys, Tsuji, Newman, and Ospreay, have going on in their respective companies. And when it comes to titles and crossover shows and the timing of everything. And for me, I'm not as sure as I was a week ago about what's going to happen here now.
Yeah, there's a lot of different options, a lot of different angles that can come out of this. Right now, my gut is leaning towards Yota Tsuji. I think that they are going to get Tsuji to Dominion, and he drops a belt. And I know you got Umino winning G1. Right now, I got Tsuji winning G1. And obviously, for him to do that, he needs to drop the heavyweight title. And that's his ticket back to the main event again in the following year. I don't know who beats him for the title, but I feel like as you continue to elevate Tsuji, that could be giving him his first G1 win. Could be huge.
All right, but let me ask you this. We're going into April, right?
Mm-hmm.
So really the only places he could potentially drop the title that makes sense before the G1, it's either going to be in May either here or May at Dontaku, especially if you're saying he's going to retain here, then it's even more limited. You got Dontaku, potentially Forbidden Door, because it looks like that will probably be moved back up to its traditional time slot that takes place before Wrestle Kingdom, or you've got Dominion. And once those things are done, then we're going into the G1. So it's like he's going to have to lose the title.
Yeah, I feel like Dominion would be the spot for him to drop the heavyweight title.
It just seems like a really quick turnaround from like dropping it in June and then turning around winning the G1.
Yeah, but then there's still that huge gap. It's not till January till he would get the title match if they stick with the traditional time period. So that's like six months of him not being champion.
Yeah, but sure, but I'm not thinking about the length of time he goes without the title. I'm thinking about the length of time between dropping the belt and then, the rehab story to him, roaring back to win the G1 and all that. I don't agree with you personally, but if I was booking this out, I would have him drop the title in May or here. And honestly, I'd probably have it be done here just because I think it gives enough room between the loss and then him winning the G1. I feel like that makes more sense. Unless the only reason I would say maybe Dominion or All In is if, where do they usually do Dominion? It's Osaka Hall.
Yeah. And I just feel like with the whole TV thing, since he was featured in the TV thing at Wrestle Kingdom, I think that obviously him and Aaron Wolf, some of the guys that were featured already, I think they might want to feature those guys again. And so I see him being in that main event, being in that title match, and then losing there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that was going to be my point, was if those are more marquee shows where him losing the title on a bigger stage would benefit to a greater extent, then that might make more sense. So I see what you're saying there. A lot to kind of unpack here. We already talked about it. Newman is the youngest winner of the Cup. If he wins this match, he will surpass Nakamura's record as youngest IWGP champion. But again, there's this bubbling Ospreay Newman story kind of under the surface. I guess we'll talk about some trajectories there. Tsuji, on the other hand, though, he's been facing United Empire members in back-to-back title defenses. He beat Jake Lee in February for the IWGP. He defended the Global later that same month in America against Andrade. So this is going to be the third time he faces a major UE member. And this time it's as of now, the, de facto leader of the group. Last couple things here. So Tsuji, this is his third Sumo Hall main event of his career. He's 4-2 in singles matches in the building all time. But for Newman, this is the first singles match period, whether it's a main event or not, that he's ever had in Sumo Hall. So this is new ground for him, but Tsuji's already kind of been to the dance before. And Tsuji does have a 1-0 record over him from the G1 last year on night 15 of the block. And actually, you know what? I got that messed up earlier. I said that the Takeshita Umino was one of the final block nights. That's not correct. I was actually thinking of this match. This was the match where Tsuji surpassed Callum and got him knocked out and allowed him to go into the block play on night 15. And that was a just over 2,000 seat house in Gunma. And it was third from the top. So, they went from literally middle of the card on a G1 night in front of 2,000 people. They're probably gonna be working triple the amount of people in the main event for the world title. That's a huge jump for these guys.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of implications here with the whole Will Ospreay storyline and whether or not that plays into whether Callum's going to win or not. And I think regardless, obviously, is leading to a Newman Ospreay match. And so you could have Callum Newman win this thing, and then that also gives the promo time, post-match angle. You could either have him, finally boot Ospreay out, and then that builds to the match, or you continue to kind of build this uneasy tension to where it seems like Callum's forgiven this guy. They're going to team together at Dominion or something like that. And then that's the night where Callum snaps and, takes him out. So I think you can go the long play and kind of tease it out some, or you can go short play and Newman boots this guy out. And, we were talking on the phone a couple days ago, and I think that Newman losing makes it a little bit harder to do the post-match angle because, Tsuji's going to do his big promo. They might have a walkout challenger. It might just be too long. Obviously, Newman could sit there and, be sad and Ospreay trying to help him, whatever. But I think it might be too awkward, too long to do that angle on this show if Newman doesn't win.
Here's my only response to that, though, is, and it's a different situation, mind you, but when Jay White defeated Kenny Omega for the United States title, they still were able to set it up in a manner to where they did the Golden Lovers reunion and Cody turning on Kenny post match. They found a creative way to allow the loser to stay in the ring. But I guess that is a little different in the sense that Jay White was a heel, and the heel doesn't necessarily need to have the confetti and the celebration. And this is a little bit bigger show than like, you know, one of those first nights of New Beginning like that was. So, but I think they could do it. Here's the other thing too, is if you wanted to have the angle take place, maybe it's not as effective if it's not in front of the live audience, but they could do it backstage.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that's a waste of an Ospreay appearance to do it where the crowd's not going to even see it, and it's going to be.
I think it depends on how long you want this story to go.
Yeah,
you know, like if it's going to be something in the fairly near future, you're probably right. If they're not ready to do the big angle yet, and they just want to plant some seeds right now, then that might be okay.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to do something, I would say, like, it can't, I wouldn't do a huge angle. Like, maybe you have them, like, argue or whatever, and they kind of ripped a little bit, but the full big on, like, right. Newman, like, brains this dude, takes him out, the whole group jumps Ospreay, like, that needs to happen on a big show where everybody's seeing it in front of the camera.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about what could happen in terms of the booking. You and I had a lengthy discussion about it, and I'd like to lay it all out, and always, you know, feel free to interject, but I'm myself a little overwhelmed by like all the different, like, I feel like it's that game, WWF No Mercy, with like the arching paths that you had to follow to do the career mode.
Branching storylines.
Yeah, the branching storylines, like so many different things can mean different things. So it's, I guess, here's how I'll unpack it. I originally thought Callum Newman might beat Tsuji. And the reason I was thinking that was because I knew that they were going to do the Ospreay feud later on. Now, I don't know exactly when, but don't take this as official confirmation, but it's just a rumor. I've heard quite a few times now. I've heard that the expectation is that Ospreay works Dominion and possibly Wrestle Kingdom this year, which I think is pretty reasonable considering he showed up on 1-5 and everything like that. Who he wrestles for those shows, I don't know. I didn't know he was going to be making this appearance whatsoever. So when I was originally thinking of how all this was going to pan out, I was just thinking about like down the line, starting in June, basically. But I thought what would make the most sense for me here is Tsuji's already beaten all the other United Empire leader members, quote unquote, and he can't get past Callum Newman. Callum Newman basically pulls a 2016 Naito on this guy where he like cheats, he gets under his skin, he beats him. It's super shocking, unexpected. But, you know, in that situation, Naito had a very short title reign. He defended in May and then dropped it in June back to Okada and then didn't go into the G1 as champion. That was my first like thought was you get the title on him, you have him drop it on a big show like Dominion. Ospreay's also on the show, big fallout. We're off to the races with their potential feud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I felt like that would be a good way to establish this guy, get the title on him. We've talked many times in the past about how they have a tendency for first-time champions to give them these short, you know, non-long reigns. And then now he's established. Like he has been a former champion. He's a player, but he's not clearly the top guy. He's not going to the Tokyo Dome or to the G1 with the belt. To me, that made the most sense. But now that Will Ospreay's in the mix, it changes a lot of what I'm thinking about that whole situation and scenario.
Yeah, what's making you change from that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is like, okay, you've got Yota Tsuji, and he's got the global title. So the global title is also a sticking point for me because I feel like one reason I thought he might lose here is because I feel like he needs to lose the IWGP title before he drops the global title.
Yeah.
Dropping the global title before he drops the black belt will, somewhat hurt his credibility, which is not what you want. At the same time, I still think that Yota Tsuji is going to, a lot of people think he's going the full year with the belts, which I guess he could hypothetically.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I think he could do that, but I feel like if he goes the full year with both belts, doesn't drop either of them, then we start getting into the territory of like, well, why don't we just merge this shit back together anyways,
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, why the fuck did you create another white? The red belt was perfectly fine. You didn't need a white belt called global to even further. The fact that the title's called global is so confusing.
Yeah.
Especially since one is now not even called world. It's just called heavyweight. So the other one's the global and the other one's just the heavyweight. It makes the global sound in terms of name. It sounds better.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, basically, I feel like if you're going to have him drop the belt and then regain it, then you might as well have him drop the global along the way. But you need to find a way to do that in a timely enough manner to where he can drop the white belt, but then also become eligible for a rematch at the world title. And I don't know if you do that through like he loses the first belt through nefarious means. And so now he's on the revenge tour and everybody kind of knows it was bullshit that he lost it in the first place. So maybe there's that going for it. Or maybe that timeline that I laid out is a little too short. Like June is too short for him to regain the title. Maybe you need to push it out to like October or November at either like King of Pro Wrestling or Power Struggle. And in that case, that means that the title run of Callum Newman, assuming Callum Newman, holds the belt that entire time, it's closer to like an AJ Styles reign where he's the guy for a good portion of the year, but he drops it right after the G1 because they don't trust him to go into the title mix,
Yeah.
So that's part of it where I'm a little concerned about like how that works with Tsuji. And then on the other hand, you've got the Ospreay thing. And it's like, we already know that Ospreay is going to probably most likely, when is the Wembley show? Is that August?
Yes.
So he's going to win that belt in August. There is the trouble of like, if him and Callum wrestle in June at Dominion, which I think a lot of people are thinking that might be the case, would they allow Callum to go into that match as the champion by that point? So that's one thing. And number two, would Tony Khan approve of him beating Will Ospreay in a title or non-title situation prior to him getting heated up for an August Wembley title win,
Yeah, probably not. But I mean, also, I guess there are ways you could work around it. And obviously, Ospreay would be probably facing MJF at that time. And so you could do a thing where MJF screws him out the match. Like if the match is at Forbidden Door, MJF costs Ospreay the match, Newman wins, and then that's part of the Ospreay MJF story, and then Ospreay would get the win back at Wrestle Kingdom against Newman.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about a few different scenarios where it's like maybe the Dominion match isn't a singles match at all. Maybe this whole thing is still simmering, and maybe they are teaming together in some aspect, and like, Newman's not the champion. He's just teaming with Ospreay.
Yeah, and like I think it'd be like if Zack and Oil won, I think like Zack and Oil against Ospreay and Newman would be great because then you have the two top like British guys and their proteges facing off for the tag team titles, and you can have Ospreay trying to do the make good and be like, yeah, let's team up, let's win the tag titles together, let's show them what the Essex Boys can do, and then Newman can kind of pretend to be in on it, and then in that match somewhere he just drills Ospreay with that Kiss the Crown lariat and leaves that man to die.
Could be that, that's definitely like Sting and Ric Flair and Halloween Havoc 95-esque sort of thing. Also could be in the fallout of the match, whether it is that tag match. I love that idea of them challenging for the world titles, but it also could be any match really, some sort of high profile team up. Or if they've already broken up, maybe they'll be facing each other in singles like we've talked about, or maybe it is a tag team situation where they're up against one another. One thing we've talked about is if Will were to lose to him early, Tony Khan and New Japan might be willing to do it because Will Ospreay, that's his protege, and he might go to bat for him to really lobby to take that loss. Mm-hmm. And he might have enough stroke to get that pulled off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But there's other things to think about, like in the past when Tony's been willing to put anybody over from New Japan, it's usually been situations where he's looking to acquire their services, and this guy is signed for 3 years. I think we all know he's probably going to wind up working for them at some point. So maybe you plant some seeds for way later down the line, but it's not like he can get a hold of this talent right now. So it's not as prudent for him to maybe push that guy. There's just so many things to think about. And then you have to think about the title implications of it all, of like, okay, if Callum is IWGP champion, but then Will is AEW champion and they overlap or don't overlap, like how does that all work out? And when are we how does this fit into Forbidden Door? How does it fit into, potentially Wrestle Kingdom? Like it's a lot to fucking try and unpack as it pertains to just how it affects this one match in April.
Yeah, which makes it exciting because I don't know what people thought about Newman's chances of winning before, but with this whole Ospreay thing, I think it's 50-50. I think there are multiple scenarios we talk about, like just branching the storylines you could do. Either guy winning that would work to elevate the Ospreay Callum feud.
I mean, if Tsuji wins, then obviously that's Tsuji further cementing his status as the top guy. He's vanquished the one, basically the guy that's replacing Will Ospreay, Jay White, and David Finlay as like the top, foreign gaijin heel of the company. And he's the only guy out of the Reiwa generation that was able to best him, right? So it further cements his status as being at the top of the heap. And he can go off and continue with his run. And then on the flip side, you're probably going to have Callum Newman blaming Will Ospreay for the loss. It much in the same way during his press conference, he said, this guy left me and everything that I've accomplished was off my own back. I didn't have any help, even though it's like Zane Jay's helping him cheat every night, but he's like, I did it all on my own.
Yeah.
In his heeldom, he's going to turn around if he loses and say it was Will's fault.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, if he loses here, it will be the catalyst for the furthering of their breakup. And it could even happen on this evening. If they find the right way to have it take place post-match, it could still take place. Like I could see Tsuji cutting his promo, getting the confetti. This man is sullen on the outside and he probably has the full United Empire out there and they're like icing him down and yada, yada, yada. And then Tsuji leaves and the show's about to be over. And then you hear dun, 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 dun. And then they do their angle. Like that could totally still happen, and that would really speed run. I mean, at that point, we're probably moving on to that match at Dominion, basically.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways they could play this. I think if Callum wins, hypothetically, let's just say if Callum were to be champion and defend that belt against Will Ospreay at either Dominion or Forbidden Door, his chances of retaining and beating Will in the first match goes up exponentially. And I think AEW has much less of an issue about Will potentially losing that match.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The other thing too is, we brought up the fact that Tony and them might not want Will to, take a loss in a singles match leading up into August, but they have a tendency to just completely no-sell what happens in Japan as if it doesn't fit into their program whatsoever. I know the fans will know, but if they just don't acknowledge it and it's just not part of their universe, then it might not really matter that much.
Yeah, they can easily just kind of gloss over it. We've seen in the past they don't always show highlights from like Wrestle Kingdom or Dominion where their guys are featured on the show. So yeah, they just decided, we're just not going to air that footage and go right over it.
So I'm thinking that regardless, the only thing that causes a hiccup with that is because Forbidden Door is so close to Dominion. If they do happen to have a match, you would expect some crossover between the two of them at Forbidden, unless they just keep Callum Newman off Forbidden Door, who knows?
Yeah.
But they might have to acknowledge it to some extent. It's very tricky to like play with all this timing of things. And then, the whole outline that you laid out where it's like, you think that Tsuji's going to drop the belt, win G1. That sets off a whole different chain of events as it pertains to the IWGP. You don't want it really hot potato too much through the year. So you have to wonder, like, how long would Callum realistically hold it? Would he hold it to Wrestle Kingdom? I kind of think no, he'd probably have to drop it. And it's like, who does he drop it to that is on the level to face a Tsuji in the Tokyo Dome,
Yeah.
It last couple things I will say, no matter what happens, this is my prediction. If Will's winning in August, there's really only like 2 more pay-per-views between that and Wrestle Kingdom. There's all out.
So there's so All Out is usually September
and World's End.
And then there is Full Gear in November and then World's End in December.
And All Out.
Oh, actually there's Wrestle Dream in October now.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that might throw a kink in what I was going to say is like, it seems like this is a really establishing title reign that, I know they play a little hot potato over at AEW, like not like they're not constantly changing hands, but guys aren't getting like a year-long reign, 8-month reigns, unless they're like MJF, most, or Mox. Most guys are holding on to that for like a 3 or 4 month period and then kind of coming off of it. But it feels like they're going to really try and kick the tires on Ospreay and do something to try and establish him for real as the guy. So I have trouble imagining he actually drops that belt before January, which if he's the champion, I could easily see a situation where Callum is challenging him in the semi-main event in a the big Gaijin versus Gaijin, the Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho. This is for the Western fans main event at Wrestle Kingdom, and it's semi-main event for the AEW title. And I feel like that's something that you could really build and make a big deal. And obviously Will's going to win that match when that happens. And I don't even know if that could literally be the first match between them. They might have enough juice to do like multi-mans and things that lead to this and keep these guys apart until January.
Yeah, I mean, if they do that, that could be pretty intriguing.
But yeah, just I guess to recap, the biggest thing for me is like Tsuji with the global title. I think he's going to drop the title at some point. How do we get him? How do we get the white belt off of him and get the black belt back on him before Wrestle Kingdom? Because in my scenario, I don't think he's winning the G1 personally. But even if he is winning the G1, how do you do those two things in time? Like there's a time issue there with all of that. And then on the Callum side of things, it's like if you're going to set up something between him and Ospreay is winning the belt in August, still kind of a close window to get this feud kicked off. And if they have the first match and he's champion, there's some implications there. So all of these different ramifications and branching storylines are like pretty intriguing to try and like trail down and predict. And it's not as open and shut as it was when Will was not showing up for the show.
Yeah. Was leading to a question we had from Def Triangle 720. So Ospreay appearing for Sakura Genesis, do you think it decreases the chances for Callum Newman to win the world title? And we just kind of talked through some scenarios where we don't think it necessarily decreases. Also a question from MJ. Are you prepared for the reign of King Callum the First?
I think we might be. I'm less sold on it than I was last week. I don't know. Like I'm so torn, bro.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's 50-50. Either guy could win, and it makes sense, and there's stories to tell going forward. But for me, I'm still leaning into Tsuji retaining here. And
okay.
I see Tsuji gunning to Dominion with the title.
Okay. So if that's the case, right, that's what your prediction is. Well, one thing I will say, I also think if Callum wins and number one, they're going to get rid of Nakamura's record. And Nakamura's like not a dude who like is really necessarily in the good graces of the company right now. This might be like Tanahashi being like, you didn't show up for my match. Fuck you. Let's get rid of your record. I also think it would be so smart for them to establish him as like the dude that passed all the Reiwa generation and beat all the records before them. And then it's like, fuck, every single one of them has to come after him. So that's cool. But getting back to what you said. So, okay. Tsuji retains here. What is your realistic prediction of where Callum goes as it pertains to Ospreay? And where does Tsuji go in light of the fact that he has both titles?
See, I really haven't plotted out where Tsuji goes and how that works, but I feel like there's enough shows to where, and I know we don't love the idea of him dropping the global first, but there are shows where you could have him drop the global.
I think you would need him for your situation, for your scenario to play out. He'd have to drop that global first, wouldn't he?
Yeah. For Newman, if he loses, I would say, I guess it depends how quick you want to do the Ospreay match. Because I would say, let's say Dominion, you could do it two ways where Dominion is a slow simmer. They're teaming together. Like I would do him Ospreay Newman against Zack Oiwa. They fail, Newman snaps, and that's the catalyst to the match. And then potentially you could do that first singles match at Forbidden Door, do the whole MJF screws Ospreay, Newman gets the first win, and then you do the eventual rematch at Wrestle Kingdom where Ospreay gets the win back. Or you could do the quick route where Newman loses, he's pissed at Ospreay, Dominion, they have the first singles match.
I have two most likely scenarios as it pertains to Ospreay and Newman, and I don't think it necessarily matters whether the titles exist or not for these guys, but the first one is they team together at Dominion. The falling out takes place. Then at Forbidden Door, it's not a singles match, but it's the first time that they're in any match against one another. Of course, this is assuming that Tony Khan sees enough money in putting Ospreay on a pay-per-view event in a tag scenario.
But who does Ospreay team with though?
I don't know. I don't follow AEW. It doesn't matter to me. Get Darby Allin or some shit, OC, whatever. Grab Mark Briscoe or Cal Fletcher. I don't fucking know. But that's not important here, Jeremy. What's important is he's on one side and Callum Newman's on the other side. But this, of course, would mean AEW has to acknowledge the beef. They have to acknowledge the breakup, and it has to somehow be built in like a week's time on TV, whatever, with their social media. So who knows? But also, if they were going to do a singles match, it's also kind of the same thing. It's like they have to acknowledge it. They only have a week to build it. Is Tony Khan going to want that on his pay-per-view? Like, I don't see that. But with all that being said, I think that's something that could happen is they do the two tag matches at this point. Then the singles match happens in January. That's one thing. The other thing I could see is Callum is world champion. He defends his title against Ospreay. He beats Ospreay. They don't acknowledge that shit Forbidden Door at all. And then Callum drops that belt in like October. And then they set up the January match. And by that point, Ospreay's world champion. And now he has defeated Callum Newman. So they're 1-1 on 2 big shows, both for each, for the New Japan and the AEW title. That's one thing those are like the 2 potential routes that I see that whole thing going.
Yeah.
With Tsuji, I think if he comes off this black belt, it helps him to drop the white belt and potentially still win the G1 if you wanted him to, or regain the title like I think he's going to. If he wins, he's still pretty solid, but you have to wonder about that white belt and what they fucking plan to do with it. Yeah. I guess they could just keep it on him forever, or he's gonna have to drop it. And you only really want him to do that after he's lost the black belt. So the timing is very strange there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think for now I'm gonna stick with Tsuji.
I am predicting a title change here.
Nice.
I'm not solid on it. I was very sold on it all through the last couple episodes of this show, but now I'm not as sold on it. And I'm okay with either route, honestly. I feel like the stories that you can tell coming out of it are going to be so good, potentially, that I'm okay either way. And I think the match is gonna like kill.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be an incredible match.
So that's our preview for next week. Got some news items here. So first bit of news, Bad News Allen going into the WWE Hall of Fame. Obviously, the WWE Hall of Fame is bullshit. It's not real. And he's going into the quote unquote legacy wing. I'm like, isn't everybody who's in this going in based off their legacy? I don't understand that. But I thought that was just interesting. I did want to mention, a lot of people probably don't know this, but Bad News Allen, major star for New Japan, alumni for the company from 1977 up until 1992. He did a lot of tours. Guy worked 890 matches for New Japan, and some of those are available on the archives on NJPW World. He also was a UWFI alumnus. So after he left New Japan, he kind of continued working in the shoot style. He was a world champion or like a silver medalist in judo. So he got to, really express that style over there for a couple of years. He had 14 singles matches. He competed in the MSG League, which was a pretty big deal. He was like literally the second before the G1 existed. MSG League was one of the iterations of the round robins. Only the second black wrestler to do a major New Japan round robin. Walter Johnson was the first one in 74. And then he's the third because Tony Atlas he is the second because Tony Atlas followed him in 82. So he's only the second person ever to compete in basically a G1 equivalent. He teamed with Willem Ruska in the 1980 MSG Team League. They went to the semifinals. And he did it again he went to the semifinals of the MSG League by himself in 1981. So really big deal. Never won a title. He challenged for the NWA North American Tag Team belts 3 times and the WWF North American title twice and the WWF International Tag titles once, which even though those are all NWA and WWF belts, those were de facto New Japan belts at the time. They were like some of the top prizes. And he never won a title in New Japan at all. One last interesting thing that I noticed. So he had a pretty cool faction in the 80s with him, SD Jones, and Abdullah the Butcher. And I feel like for as long as he was there, he fits the bill as a guy that should have challenged Inoki for one of his like Challenger of the Month title defenses. But like they never let him challenge Inoki. And this is the same guy that famously challenged Andre the Giant to get off the bus for making racist comments. Mm-hmm. And Andre wouldn't get off the bus because they kind of knew Bad News would fuck him up. I'm wondering if Inoki never wanted to put the title on the line because he knew this guy was a real shooter and probably could, destroy him.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff. If you've never seen Bad News Allen wrestle, I'm a big fan. I love his stuff. March 21st, the New Japan Academy 3rd anniversary showcase. I did see somebody posted like a bootleg video on YouTube, but the official video has not come out yet. But two interesting results from that show. Alan Breeze and Steve Borden, the son of Sting, were successful in the semi-main event. They defeated Vin Parker and Hit. I don't know. There's been a lot of like interest about this show because of Steve Borden and, you know, kind of seeing where he is along the way. Also in the main event, Raymond Bright defeated CJ Tino for the Strong Survivor title. So it's good to know the Strong Survivor lineage has been upheld. March 22nd, there was a Ring of Honor Club tapings. Shane Hayes and Mikey Nichols, who I don't know if they're still affiliated or not, but they're TMDK. They defeated the team of Better Together, Hador Horvitz and Ori Gold in 4 minutes and 6 seconds. And then they lost to Florida RPG Vice. Is that their new name?
No, I don't know where that came from. There's RPG Vice on AWTV.
Oh, well, then I just must have fucked up. But they lost to Rocky Romero and Trent Barretta. I don't think that has broadcast yet, but yeah, they lost at a ROH TV taping. So, you know, Rocky booking himself to go over there. March 24th, DDT Wrestling Judgment. Yuji Nagata defeated Fuminori Abe in 16 minutes and 4 seconds. This was from Shinjuku Face. But during the post-match, pretty interesting angle. Free agent recently released from GLEAT, Shima appeared and talked about how 29 years ago they were in WCW, him and Nagata together. When he was only 19 years old, he had a singles match with Nagata, and that Nagata kind of like took him under his wing and taught him and was training with him and yada, yada, yada. And he's saying now 29 years later, I want to stand by your side. And Nagata accepted him and they formed an alliance. So they're like an official team on the, or at least over maybe in DDT. Maybe this will continue out into freelance territory. I don't know. But following that, Sanshiro Takagi and Poison Sawada came out, challenged them. So now there's a set match between the WCW Dream Team and the DDT Legends, tag match that will take place at Ueno Onshi Park outdoor stage on May 27th. So March 24th, there was a pretty interesting article from Puroresu Today. Toru Okada was interviewed talking about the expansion of Stardom and how they're really not looking to expand the brand into international in terms of like running independent shows or trying to like move into other territories, but that they are utilizing their partnerships with like CMLL and other companies to send wrestlers away, do the excursion program, get exposure, share talent, and kind of use that to streamline other businesses. But the other thing that he said that was really interesting, he said that their major goal right now for Stardom is very simple. They want to do a Tokyo Dome show.
Pretty big goals.
Yeah, we'll see if they get there, but they're booming in business. That's really good. Today, there was an interview released by NJPW1972.com. Prince to King, Callum Newman interviewed. I saw a couple excerpts from this. I haven't had a chance to read it today, but I know that he talked about Ospreay there, so kind of furthering things as well. I think that's probably going to be a good read. April 2nd. So we've already talked about how MLW / New Japan are doing CMLL Fantascomania USA, which is really just a Fusion TV taping. A couple of the talents that are with MLW that have worked for New Japan before that will be on the show is like Tom Lawler, Good Brothers, Matt Riddle. The guys that have been announced from New Japan, that's Kushida, Taiji Ishimori, and DOUKI. And then they confirmed Satoshi Kojima making his return. His last work with them was in October of last year in like the Opera Cup. He lost to Volador. So he's returning. So they've got a few New Japan guys. But for a show that is apparently New Japan and MLW presenting CMLL to the US, how many talents from CMLL do you think they've announced for this card so far? Which is only, you know, in 12 days, 13 days from now.
I'm assuming none.
They have announced 0 talents from CMLL so far. Now, we've seen CMLL talent work MLW live here in St. Pete. We know they have a relationship, but like, bro, when I saw they have a long list of talent, and it's all MLW talent, like Shotzi Blackheart and Mads Kruger. Is like, bro, where the fuck are the luchadors? This is supposed to be this is a fake ass Fantascomania. Like, I don't even know if we should even really count this shit, but one other piece of news. I don't know if you saw this, Jeremy. Magnus has officially been named Black Tiger 9.
Yes, I did see that. Yep.
So this was made official on CMLL Informa, their news show, and Magnus lobbied to continue the Black Tiger persona that he cultivated during the Fantasticmania tour. They had a video with Chairman Sugabayashi, and he was like, I'm okay with it. So now here's the only interesting thing about that. If you're going to have a Black Tiger, that kind of means you need to have a tiger mask. So that, again, is kind of leaning into Tiger Mask's about to retire. We got a new Black Tiger. We kind of have to have a tiger mask for Black Tiger to even exist.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
April 17th, couple blood sport matches announced. ZSJ, Zack Sabre Jr., will be making his debut with the group, and he's fighting someone named Ray Jazz. I don't know who the fuck that is, but Ray Jazz. Zach will definitely win that one. Also, Royce Isaacs of West Coast Wrecking Crew or World Class, it will be taking on Shane Mercer. That is testosterone to the upper limits. That's going to be awesome. On June 7th, we've got some news regarding Best of the Super Juniors. By the time this episode airs, we'll probably have a new collection of talent officially released. But there was I did think it was funny that they put the catchphrase for this year's, and on Twitter it says "over the top is just fine." But I don't think that that's a good translation. I tried.
Grok sucks at translating. Like Grok, it called Tanahashi Tenzan all the time. Like
they do that shit all the time.
It's horrible.
But I took the Japanese lettering and I put it through a bunch of different translations, and I couldn't get a good grasp on what the fuck this like even means. So I don't know, but I thought "over the top is just fine" that's as good as anything. That's fucking awesome. Rambone says Yasuda for Tiger Mask. So basically what they announced the other week is, hey, we're going to be slow rolling. Every couple of days, we're going to be announcing 3 different entrants into the tournament over the course of, so many days. And then after they announced that, they put out a poster, and the poster has 13 juniors on it, which most of them are people you would assume are going to be in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of like, there's only 20 slots. You're slow rolling the entrance. Why did you announce all these people? So on the poster was DOUKI, Desperado, Fujita, Yo, Sho, Kushida, Wato, Akira, Ishimori, Taguchi, Robbie X, Eagles, and Kanemaru, all featured on the poster, even though they're not supposed to be announcing anybody and until they started making the official whatever. But since then they've announced Fujita, DOUKI, Desperado, Sho, Wato, Yo, and Kanemaru. And then there's been 2 guest announcements from DDT. Daisuke Sasaki will be in it this year. And then Valiente Jr., who we most recently saw at Fantasticmania from CMLL, he's also going to be a guest in this year's tournament.
Yeah, and we had a question from MJ. Thoughts on the rollout for the BOSJ lineup? Do you appreciate what they're trying to do on the marketing side by drawing out announcing the entrance?
I'm okay with them trying different things. I just think it was weird that they did that poster and now they're doing the slow rollout. But we got 2 surprises that I wasn't necessarily expecting. So if this is effective and people like it, then sure, I'm totally fine with it. There's probably the traditionalists in us that love when Sumo Hall show comes up and then we get the mid break in the middle of the show where they're like Fantasticmania and they like do the whole announcement. I like that too. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're still going to do the block announcements at Sakura Genesis with the last 2 announcements. But yeah, I think the slow roll thing I think it could work and it could be a good way to build engagement every day. I've been seeing people in our Discord every morning kind of dropping the 3 new, and there's been discussion. So I think it has been good in that way. But yeah, just them posting the poster ahead of time kind of killed what they were doing.
The only thing about it that is exciting for me is because they're waiting until the last couple for that show. You have to imagine that they're big names, but then that puts pressure on how they're going to book whoever those big names are. And they clearly can't be guys within New Japan. It has to be outside surprises. So who are these big enough names that are going to like really stir the pot to where people are going to get those major, like for instance, if it's Speedball Mike Bailey, right? He would be an incredible inclusion in the tournament. That's not a guy that you can announce at Sumo Hall as one of only 2 entrants or whatever that are going to get the crowd going. It has to be a name that really shakes things up, and maybe that's putting too much pressure on it.
Maybe, yeah.
But it makes me wonder, do they have something up their sleeves that we don't know about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know anything about Daisuke Sasaki?
No, and we can talk about him some more next week.
Yeah, so we've learned a little bit about him. We've learned a little bit about Valiente Jr. Last couple things here. So G1 Climax has sold a little over 2,200 tickets, for the tickets sold so far. And there's been some speculation from Dave Meltzer that some of the AEW talents that are helping to promote that event could potentially indicate that there's been talks going on backstage about inclusion of AEW talent in the G1. I don't know if he has that confirmed, but that was on his daily audio recently. So something to think about. But that is pretty much going to do it for the news.
All right. And I'm going to push these other questions that we have for next week and wrap some stuff up here. So it was great to be back on the show. We got a lot of interesting stuff happening in the promotion. So next week we'll be back to review the Sakura Genesis Night 4 Road 2 show, the Junior Genesis, and Sakura Genesis 2026. So remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KIStrongstyle. You can also make a donation by visiting socialbooks.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KI Strong Style, at Socialplex, at Jeremy L. Donovan, at YB_Josh and Liger. On Facebook, follow us at Facebook.com/Socialplex and the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, on the Pro Black Guy, Josh Keeping It Strong Style. On YouTube, we're at Socialplex. Join our Socialplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio with Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin, Imps, AW Adventure, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, AW Match Guy with Sam Brown, Tone Talk with Ali and Leah, the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast, and Joshing Around with Tim and Eric. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keeping It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial. If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.